what I'm talking about. How can you not be hyped after that as we enter the world of Professor Tolkien once again? Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts, to another hopefully awesome stream. I have no doubt it will be. June 18th, 2019, about 12:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and it is my great pleasure to welcome everybody to day 46 of Adventures in Middle-earth, Wilderland Adventures, sponsored by Cubicle 7. This is something we call Robar Revealed, which we actually got to do a little bit of that last time. Reveal and Robar, know what I'm saying? This is all of a sudden not sounding as family-friendly as I intended, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it is my great pleasure to welcome everybody here. This should be a lot of fun. Before I get started, a couple of reminders about ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel with an exclamation point. Just follow the channel, first of all. That's a great thing to do. Check out the YouTube with the exclamation point ARVTube. That will get you to my YouTube channel where you can see past broadcasts of the stream. Exclamation point ARVCord will be a big thing as well, so you can check us out and hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. We've also, of course, got the Twitter, exclamation point ARV tweets. Thank you very much, Echo and company. And exclamation point ARV tweets and exclamation point tweet will let you retweet this stream. And please do that, because retweeting the stream is a big thing that really helps us out. So please do that. You can find all of that, by the way. Hello, Ballsteg. More about Ballsteg in a minute. At arvinelleron.com. So please make sure to check us out there. Then you've got, of course, the financial ways to support us. First of all, the Patreon, exclamation point ARVTreon, which is currently sitting at $347.96. We're trying to get that north of 350 and on its way up to 400, because again, that is the financial backbone of the channel, and that really helps when we have a bunch of things like videos to pay for, intro videos and stuff like that. So that helps quite a bit. Exclamation point exclamation point ARVTreon for that. We have the shop, exclamation point ARV shop, our merchandise area. And let me remind everybody that we have got merchandise now for Adventures in Middle-earth. So if you have been looking for some of that and you're like, where can I show my love for these spectacular characters? Let me remind everybody that it now exists thanks to the amazing work of Kilobyte in putting this together, and of course Terry Toons of doing the illustrations. So you have Tawny Bear and Robar and the River and Inga all available, plus the crew as a whole. All of those things are there, which is really, really cool. So you should check that out with exclamation point ARV shop. Of course, we have Infinity and Beyond merchandise there too. And then last but certainly not least, we have got I said the Patreon already. The sub buttons, there we go. The sub button right above the video window. We are at 65 subs right now, so we're actually only 7 subs away from a new record. Our record is 71 subs, so 72 would be a new record, and that would be super awesome. But the big thing that we're trying to promote today, the big thing that we're making a big deal out of, is the Icarus Jelinek Icarus Jelinek Kickstarter. This is something that we've put a lot of effort and a lot of attention and a lot of time into, and we're really trying to push this. And we think, we're still very excited about what the project can be and about some of the backers who have supported us. And if you are one of those backers, thank you. We are very grateful. But we definitely do need your help. We need your help to spread the word. We need your help to support if you can. This is really spectacular, incredible art, which I'm showing you right now, by the way. And there's just amazing work that Acela Fabio, the artist, has done for this. And we need your help to be able to make that happen. So for those of you who have already supported us and have tweeted it out and have talked about it, thank you. But there's a lot more that we still need to do. And so any more further support that you're able to give, anything you're able to do in terms of spreading the word and anything like that would be helpful. Especially, if you have not just Twitter, but Facebook or Instagram or any of those things, it would be much appreciated if you were able to support us here. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do possibly even a stream dedicated to boosting this, maybe like a streamathon, something like that we might be doing next week. But in any case, please support if you possibly can, and thank you for those. I know that Echo's been retweeting it and Kilobyte and a lot of people, so please do that if you can, because that would be a big help. Schedule-wise, we've got Wilderland Adventures, Adventures of Middle-earth going on right now. At 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be over at GOG, where we'll be playing D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. That will be what's going on tonight. Then I'm going to be flying out to Seattle, and I will actually be out in Seattle. I think we have Emberwind coming up on Thursday. I need to double check check the calendar. But I will be on a plane during the time that I think that's broadcasting, flying out to Seattle. We'll be visiting in-laws and family out there. But I will be back for my normal streams on Friday and Saturday, and I should be getting most of those streams during the time that we're out in Seattle. I've made arrangements to do that. And I do want to highlight one other thing, which is that we have D&D Curse of Strahd coming up on Saturday. Friday, I believe we have D&D with viewers, so that should be a lot of fun. But next week, I want to highlight on Monday, we will have the premiere of Hearts of Wulin. So Hearts of Wulin is a wuxia theater inspired game, which ended up making about $35,000 on Kickstarter. It just concluded, and we have a new campaign of that going on. I have seen the intro video for this, by the way, and it is epic. I'm just going to say a lot of petals. Okay, a lot of flower petals going on in that video, but I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be awesome. It will feature Lowell Francis, who is also the game's designer. He will be the dungeon master. He also happens to be Cat Rambo's brother. Cat Rambo, of author, of course, and of Esper Genesis fame on this channel, and on the class that she teaches once a month on this channel. So he will be GMing it, and she will be playing along with Mike Underwood, Turbo Tango on here, along with as well Saad and Joyce Chung. So that is coming up on Monday the 24th at 8 p.m. It is a new thing going on this channel, which is super exciting. And I cannot wait for all of that. It's going to be really good times. So that's what we've got going on over the next week or so. But what we have going on right now, of course, are our awesome players. And so I'm going to head over there. I have unmuted myself so they can know that we're ready to go. Now I'm unmuting them. And now I'm going to head over there with dun 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 dun. Aha! They are almost all here. I will explain why the fourth person isn't here yet in just a minute. But hold on.
Wait, I'm too excited and too cheerful. You have to cut back, let me pretend to be asleep, and then come back again.
What? I'm so pumped up. My players are here. We are awesome. Also, I should say my sixth grader now. Look at this. So my daughter, little Arv, which everybody knows here, is graduated from fifth grade. So she is now officially a sixth grade student.
Even though there's no graduation.
There's no graduation, but it still counts. So she is such a great kid. It is an honor to be her father, as I've said many times. And she's going to be hanging out and doing a little bit of drawing and stuff like that. Maybe following in Terry's footsteps. Maybe, I don't know. Could be. We will see. But anyway,
you're gonna take my job.
Take your job, exactly. Well, she already said, she's like, Dad, how can I permanently defeat Terry? No, she didn't say that. How can I eliminate her from her throne? Anyway, but so it's gonna be awesome. No, you don't have to bang on Amal's door. She wouldn't be there, flying enemy, as I will explain. But let me introduce these wonderful players. I'm so glad we're back in the saddle with this campaign today, starting with the gentleman right below me, who is chipper and awake as usual. It's always completely awake. And then, of course, is Trendane. Hey, Trend, how's life in the universe and everything? Who are you playing, and how's everything going?
I'm doing okay. I see Jagtress in the chat there.
I know.
I've not seen that name in a while.
Good to see Jagtress.
Doing okay. Little bit on the sleep deprived side. Not sleep deprived. It's just once again my sleep schedule is shattering. So it's like 2 hours here, an hour there, back and forth. It's just like I'm going to be starring in a Romero movie pretty soon. Just
of the Dead.
Exactly. Of the Dead.
Yeah.
That'd be a good title. Don't open, Dead Inside. I really want Welder to do that. Different game. Sorry, but
that is pretty funny.
Anyway.
Oh, interesting. It says so much of the dead here.
Look, the message on this door says, "Don't open, Dead Inside." I think you're supposed to read it across with, no, this particular font, it reads this way. Sorry, it's a different character in a different game, and it's the same channel, just different campaign, different game system, anyway, blah, blah. I am Trent Sparks. I am supposedly a professional voice actor, and
not supposedly.
So, well, what was the other question? Who am I playing? Hey, yes, there's that big
yes,
that thing that you just blew my
Icarus
monitor with.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kickstarter just bang, like,
wham. Yeah, sorry, I was moving around.
I see that. So I'm playing Tawny Bear, the Hearthminder, who was at one time during the Battle of the Five Armies a psychotic berserker who would just kill anybody who got too close to him because he just loved to beat people up and hurt people. And eventually became a bit of a pacifist, not a bit, a lot of a pacifist.
I was going to say quite a bit of a pacifist.
And is a master healer now. And he has pretty much devoted himself to this, not his family of origin, of which he has none, but his made family, this created family, this family of his own making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In some ways, as good a family as you could have, I suppose, a family that you put together yourself, that you assembled. As you were talking, I started thinking, these happy few. It's just like everything comes back to Shakespeare. But it's a great pleasure to have Trent with us, as always. And of course, you will also see Trending on Infinity and Beyond, where they're dealing with some really angry trees. So there's a lot of angry forests going on within the other campaign.
If only we had a crystal that would make everything fine.
Yes, I am interested to see more how that goes. But I'm very excited to have Tani with us for this campaign. It'll be great. I'm also excited to have, of course, Mr. Will Jones from Encounter Roleplay with us as Robar returns. This is why I called it Robar Revealed. I'm like, he's revealed. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that VOD, but there was a point, Will, where literally Robar's like, the Robar reveal literally turned the tide of the battle, like not even a joke, and basically brought everyone back. And we just had this image of you just, again, just being like, every time I need some issues, Robar. So Robar has revealed himself again. But it is good to have you back in the saddle. How are you, my friend? How's life? And who are you playing?
Yeah, life is good. Life is good. I'm doing things like trying to look after myself, working out, trying to wake up at a normal time, eating actual food. Pursuing things outside of work. I'm shooting for my as a kid I did like a bunch of guitar grades, but I never really finished them. So my plan for this summer is to try and just like finish my guitar grade stuff and have that be a little project outside of doing work stuff. So that's my little nugget of news for all. But yeah, I'll be playing Robar Staunton today, who is the most revealed man in the party right now. And he's happy about it. He's I hear that there's been a lot of shenanigans. They were just telling me beforehand that there's a new girlfriend situation going on with the river, and I'm super excited to see that play out. And I want to have a new friend in the party for Robar to be awkward with, and slowly come to like. So I'm super excited for today's episode, and we may be getting to some of I guess Robar's family stuff again soon, which is cool as well. See if they're still alive. Lol.
I was going to say, actually, you're probably going to get quite a bit of that because that's going to be a lot of the focus, I think, of today. That and assembling an army. So we will see how that all works. But that's going to be awesome. Thank you, Will. Good to have you back on board as always. That brings us down to, of course, Terry Tunes, who is fully healthy. There is no sickness at all that she possesses in the least. I'm being very facetious. Terry is a little under the weather. How are you doing otherwise, Terry? Are you surviving? How's life in the universe, and who are you playing?
Oh, pretty good actually. Like, it's annoying that I'm sick, but it's normal. I always get sick.
You got super quiet, Terry. Sorry, I just want.
Check that.
You were good, and then all of a sudden I was like, "What?"
8. Test.
Doesn't seem. Can you hear her, Will? Because I'm hearing. She's quiet.
Yes.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
My PC is being slow.
Hey, what's up, Aaron? And hello, Nonstop. Good to see all these lovely people.
Where do I fix the input? I forgot.
You sound kind of normal to me.
Do you? I mean, she sounded quiet. I don't know. Quiet
Maybe
from what
I've
she
got
was
mine.
saying before, but. Bear with us for one moment, party.
There we go. Hello.
That sounds better. Yes, thank
That
you.
does sound better, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go find the options, and I was brain farting along the way.
Now we're there. Okay, so sorry. So you were saying.
So yeah, like actually pretty good. Like, I'm taking care of a lot of things here. But yeah, like I'm sick, so I'm brain farting a lot today. You guys can expect me to not be really mentally there a lot because what's happening?
Oh.
Because it's normal when I have a cold, but yeah, my immune system is absolute crap, so I have like a cold like a billion times a year, approximately. But yeah.
But you're here and you're playing.
Here, yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I'm playing Inge, daughter of Ida. She is a dwarven wanderer from the Erebor, and she is a stonemason by trade, and she has a pony sidekick. His name is Lilleman.
And he's a good boy.
MVP.
Yep. He's the most valuable pony. There's no doubt about
Yes, indeed.
it. The most valuable pony. And
Trent
just
missed that one. Sad.
and you got a special and you have a special invitation. Inga does.
Oh yes, last time a messenger showed up or something, or like a messenger brought a letter, basically saying that I and my friends should come to Dale. That was the name of the town. And I, like Inge, is supposed to meet King Dine II himself, king of the dwarves of the Erebor and the Iron Hill, and I don't know, maybe some more. I'm not sure how dwarven politics exactly go and monarchies. I'm not sure how Dine actually ended up being king of Erebor. Actually, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, so when Thorin died. And I started to clear my throat. But when Thorin died, King Dane took over essentially as the nearest of kin to him and became sort of king under the mountain. He eventually folded all of that, Erebor and that area for the dwarves into that, because otherwise he was from the Iron Hills, but he kind of became the sort of king of those and plus Erebor, because Oakenshield, the line of Oakenshield had ended with Thorin, so that was part of it. Thorin did not have any children.
Yeah, well, and also his nephews died.
And his nephews died. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Keely and Keely went down too.
Like the family.
Oh, he was a daddy.
Dine is the next in line, basically.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, it's one of those things that there's just kind of a throwaway in The Hobbit where he's just like, go especially to my cousin Dane in the Iron Hills. And you're just kind of like, my cousin, and then you're like, the dwarves have 6 million cousins, but like this particular cousin is like the cousin, and
they're like hobbits.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's cousin. Anyway, but it is a great pleasure to have Terry with us and having her back on board. You will notice that there is a black screen where the river is, and that is not because anything bad has happened to Amal. It is that as we speak, Amal is finishing up her defense of her dissertation, so I want to wish personal, having gone through that many years ago, I want to wish her personal best of luck. I am sure she will do great. She is planning to join us when she is done with it. So my guess is that
she is done. She wrote on Discord. She's done and on her way home now.
Okay, great. I didn't see that.
One, which I don't know what time that is for you guys, like for me. So.
Okay, yeah, that'll be about 15 minutes from now. So that's good. So you will have a chance to see her in about 15 minutes. I imagine if it's anything like the rest, she's going to be kind of like a little loopy and fried after having had this very intense mental experience. So I think it's basically going to be either sick or tired. So just to count down, we've got basically 3 out of 4 who are either tired, sick, or like mentally exhausted. So basically, it's going to rely on Will and his coffee as the one healthy remaining member of the party.
I've been checked out since last year.
Okay. Outstanding.
Perfect game explanation. Like, since there was like a big celebration party going on in Roscobel, right? We're in Roscobel.
Yes.
Like everybody's just hung over.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Exactly. Pretty much that. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly right. This is the party members. The players really get into their characters, and I think it's their commitment to their craft that really shows here. I think that's what
this is a shot of bourbon.
An entire shot. Terry went out and deliberately got herself infected so that she could like just be like, please, sir, you have a cold cough on me. I must be able to get into my character. That's exactly how this worked.
There's a sect of worshippers in Skyrim who do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and somewhere else in some other series.
You mean elsewhere?
No. It's...
Oh, come on, that was clever.
That was good. I gotta
dug
give
it. That was good.
It was
I-
in gray shade.
That's good.
It was in gray shade.
Yes,
That's
it was.
where it
That
was.
is quite correct. That is quite correct. I didn't want to be that guy, but that was quite correct. Yeah.
But you did because you're brilliant.
Trent's got gray shit on the brain for good reasons. Oh man, I have so much good, exciting news about that, which I can't share yet. But anyway, but on we go. Let's talk about the recap. I want to fire up the music here and get us underway. Yes, exactly. Nope.
Nope.
Exactly. Nope. This is
Not Jurassic Park's. Also.
This is peaceful music. It is,
sure.
if you will, the morning after.
Calm before the slaughter.
The things that happen, the morning after. So, the crew, if you have been with us for the past, my God, 45 days of this crew as they have built themselves up over time, the party has been essentially tracking down details of this growing shadow. And they've begun to discover more and more information about where that shadow might have come from and what it intends for the people of Wilderland. In particular, in the Dwimmerhorn, the party discovered this large and frightening-looking chain that was draped around and near this corpse, which spoke with green, flashing eyes. And it turned out that chain was a thing called the Throgorim, I believe, which was this chain that weighed down creatures and at one point had been used to enslave dragons because it weighed down not just the body but the mind. It was a very evil artifact from ancient days, and that proved that whoever is behind this growing shadow is not messing around, and they are not some just minor bandit, although they employ many of them and have built up sort of this crew of people that is causing all sorts of disruptions. Yes, Trent, you had a question.
Didn't you say it had also once bound Smaug's father?
Correct. It had bound Smaug's father. That's right. So it is, again, who is a particularly powerful dragon, not just any dragon, but a powerful dragon as well.
And cute as a button. Please continue.
Such a delight. Yeah, exactly. No, not so much. So as the party went through this, they did have other people they had to save, including members of their family. And they recently, in the last session, or 2 sessions, I suppose, managed to rescue the river's father, which was very dangerous and difficult and led to some really interesting, exciting moments, but they did manage to accomplish it. There were some other things as well. The river discovered a possible new intriguing circumstance and situation with Ash, the escaped half-elven elven slave, who was appealing in some ways, and so they danced by the light of the fire in the last session, and I heard a lot of people talking about shipping, and I just but in any case, that happened during our last session. The other thing that happened during the last couple of sessions, in addition to this exciting party that everyone is now waking up rather groggily from, is the fact that first Inga received this invitation, as Terry mentioned, to meet with King Dane of the Iron Hills and Erebor, which is a big deal, obviously, so she's looking forward to doing that. But Robar, of course, still has his sister that has to be attended to, and the plan was for them this morning as they woke up to basically head off to do that. The problem, of course, is that Robar can't just do this, as good as this party is, 4 people against the entire bandit army, basically, that Vigland has assembled, is not going to be enough. And so there is the danger even that there may be places that are under siege right now that, Robar doesn't know. He had to come down and help with this. And so Robar now basically has to assemble this army and return so he can rescue his sister and lay claim again to his ancestral home. And to do that, he's going to need the whole party to actually make it happen. That's cute. And so my favorite ship sails the river Ash. So anyway, so as the party wakes up on the morning after this wonderful celebration, feast, peaceful, everything, everyone happy and feeling joyous, but also kind of steeled for the day ahead. I'd say that the first 2 people to wake up probably would be, I would say, well, let's say the first 3 would be Tani and Inga and Robar. You do not see any sign of the river as you first awake, but the 3 of you are now awake and looking at as you kind of walk out of the hut where you've been staying, and you can see there's like the burned out place where the fire was, the campfire, big bonfire was the night before, and a lot of trampled down grass where people were hanging out and having a good time and all that. And the morning sun is rising, just peeking over the tops of the trees and shining down on Roscabel. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to them.
Everyone sleep well? Good. We gotta get going.
Surprisingly well. Yeah, but you don't want breakfast first?
Well, I mean, we can eat breakfast on the way. You know, it's
Breakfast sounds like a great idea.
okay. We can get some breakfast, I guess.
I'll get started on it.
Okay, so you're gonna go off and start breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Or while they're doing this, so obviously that's going to involve Tawny doing stuff. What are the other two of you doing while that's happening? Unless you're helping him, and then which is fine. In which case, what are you specifically doing to help?
I guess we should plan ahead of plan the route that we are taking, and
Yeah.
we it's gonna await us when we get there.
I was thinking the same, and it's certainly the case that we don't have enough people for this mission right now, so we're gonna have to call in some favors with friends if we have any of those.
How many people do you think we need?
All of them.
All of
All of the people.
Right, let's get started.
30 sessions later. No.
Yeah. I wrote next to Vigland, a dude who is trying to kill my sister.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. Those are true facts.
This Vigland fella, he's quite the villain, and he's managed to amass around him a large army, larger than that other guy we killed, who was also bad. Voltar. Yeah, and him as well. Yeah, we spent a lot of time killing people, eh?
Yes.
Also, I see a pattern here. All the names start with E in the beginning.
I don't see the connection.
Valderic.
With this, Victor walks up to you and says, "Hi." No, I'm just kidding.
Your best friend Victor. Oh, Victor, we can always trust you.
It's good to see you, Vladimir. Wait, oh.
Yeah. I mean, am I thinking hundreds or am I thinking thousands?
Not thousands.
Okay.
That would have taken notice. Others would have taken even more notice than that. But definitely, if you had to guess just on the size of the camp, a couple hundred probably, which is that's a good force of people in a area that doesn't really have a standing army of any kind, essentially.
Yeah. Several hundred. I wouldn't want to face them alone. At least without some serious assistance. There's a woman, Estid, daughter of Vigland. There's a few of them who fought against him before, but I don't think they're much of an army. And they're on the run at the moment. I promised them we try and rendezvous before Vigland got to them. So all we need to do is find a couple of hundred people willing to head several leagues north and possibly die. And then we have to find them before Vigland kills them. So,
Mark, could you pick
any
up
ideas?
the big map, please?
Oh, yes. Be happy to do that. Give me just a second.
So where exactly are we supposed to rendezvous with them?
Somewhere in the north is what Will's memory says.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring the players over to this.
I'll mark it on your map.
Here we go.
I'll mark the location.
I'll mark the location on your map. By the way, Will, and as you see these kind of X's, in case you're curious what these are. So the
Don't go there.
No, actually the opposite. So the yellow X's were, there was a map that was discovered in the tower of the person that you just defeated to free the River's father. And the map had several X's marked off. And a lot of these X's corresponded with groups that you already had dealt with. For example, over here was the Dwemerhorn. Sorry, down here was the Dwemerhorn. Up here is where you dealt first with Volter and that bandit. Obviously, down here is where literally the tower where you just liberated. And then there were some X's that you didn't recognize, but anything coming from Gundabad is not likely to be good. And this yellow X over here is roughly where Vigland is, where you encountered Vigland the first time. So these things were all marked as if they were this large kind of group that was all assembling together. And then I believe it was Ash, excuse me, who marked these red X's as places that were essentially these were sort of the good forces of Middle-earth, or at least good forces of Wilderland. Now, some of those are not accessible to you. You're not going to have time to go over to the west of the Misty Mountains and get, Elrond's people over there. You're not going to be able to go east. You're going to be going east eventually, but you can't go there and come back. The Elven King is probably too far, into Mirkwood to get, at least most of his people. But this is like Woodland Hall where you just were, obviously, and you got those folks, and you've got the Eagles, and, but that's the basic look of what these X's are like. And you can think about the people you've encountered and see if any of those, like maybe Dodie Brandybuck, I imagine he'd be right front and center of any.
So we've got a conspiracy map, and Inga's got all these like points in them showing how everything's connected, and Ropar's like, I don't see the connection. Okay.
Well, I think we should definitely make a stop at Bjorn's house and ask for help there. What do you think?
Agree.
Donnie. Yeah. And I don't know, River probably can fill us in on that when she gets out of bed, but I guess Woodman Town and Woodland Hall are somewhat on the way.
And Roscobel.
We are in Roscobel.
Oh, we are in Roscobel? Okay, I saw us. Okay, I thought we were there on the map. I thought we were in the mountain. Well, we could always get people from here.
Yeah, that too. And I suppose we could send word to Mountain Hall and maybe even to the Woodland Farm.
Yeah, the elves don't mind me. But there's also, this is a threat to them in a way, so there's a wider case to be made about taking out Vigland before he gets any further. This tyrant.
Well, I mean, this is a threat to everybody, and as we learned from our friends that we met at the Elven Tower, is that everybody basically has a foot on this field.
At least they should.
Yeah.
Well, my sister is also someone of importance, it seems, to the elves. Maybe Irame and her folk would help us. We did help them.
Well, I mean, Irame is either in Rivendell or farther than that.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could send messages.
We could send for aid. We could call for aid.
Could you please, sorry to jump in, could you please light some beacons when you do that? Because that
No. What happened is over in the kitchen, Tawny was paying attention to something else, and the frying pan got too hot, and he's like, "The bacon is lit!"
Tawny calls for aid. Best part of that movie, by the way, I still think, or at least the one that I remember even the most, is the beacon lighting. Oh, man.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I think Ing is right. The more people we can send word to, the better. Even if we can't visit those locations ourselves, we can send word ahead that we're coming as well to those that we are going to meet, so that they know what's going on. Maybe they could have a chance to prepare.
This
are here right now.
Well, this new friend, Ash, she doubtless knows some other elves somewhere. So she could probably be instrumental in helping to get messages to them.
Which one was she? All the dancing.
River's new girlfriend.
Okay.
Ooh, girlfriend.
Well.
I would suggest we also make a stop at the old fort.
I agree.
And
I don't know if there's
to Bjorn's house from there.
Yeah, even and hear me out here. This is big, so don't get angry. What about the Easterly Inn? I mean, I hate bringing this up myself. Just the mere idea of going back to that place haunts me.
Well, I mean, I just told our new friends Freya and Kabus that they should wait for us there. So I suggest they travel with us up there and then stay there unless they want to come fight with us. I mean, I can go ask them if they are up for battle, but I wouldn't know how proficient they are on a battlefield. So
That's true. And while I have no problem with the Easterly Inn itself, if you are going to recommend that we take up brothers in arms from the employees of that place, I would remind you, Robar, I do have a pan full of molten bacon grease here.
No, I was more thinking Dindy and Dodie. They know a lot of people a bit like us. Somehow they managed to draw in a clientele which is uniquely made up of adventurers and kind of wanderers, I guess.
Not all adventurers meet in an inn.
No, that we do, don't we? Isn't that our thing?
Oh,
I thought that was our. I've been visiting inns for years, just to meet people like us.
It's not like we're told, let's all meet at the Inn of the Prancing Pony. That's not how this works.
Well, maybe Dindy and Dodie could send out word for us. Maybe they'd even be able to offer some kind of reward for any adventurers in the area that were. Oh my God, have we become quest givers?
Is there an exclamation point?
This NPC has no quest for you currently.
Tawny will remember that. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you do that and I'll go talk to Beorn?
Okay.
You are obviously friends with eagles at this point. You don't suppose we can ask them for support, can we?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the thing where the butterfly speaks to a sparrow and then the sparrow tells the eagle. It's a very middleman situation. I think maybe if you see a butterfly, catch a little bugger and I'll speak to it and maybe something will happen there, but I don't know how that works.
And
we are sending word to Mountain Hall, to the eagles.
Come to think about it, why don't we just take the eagles right there? That would save us a lot of time.
Well, and we don't need to go to the Eastern Inn. Depending on how many people we pick up on the way, I don't think they are going to have enough eagles there to carry all of us.
In an intense combat situation, no one's ever going to need to take an eagle to get anywhere any faster.
I suppose that's true. All right, let's ask everyone we know. I'll start writing letters, and then we'll visit all the locations we can feasibly get to on this very multicolored map that we've created for ourselves.
So, like, the green line is like the walkway I'm suggesting.
The walkway, yeah.
The turquoise circles are where we are sending messengers.
Sending messages. Perfect.
Okay.
And that's a streak of mustard I got on the... I'm sorry.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
So what is our destination, though? Where are we gonna exactly need to go?
Up by the yellow dot there, yeah. East Upper Vales.
So the farthest north point of help that we plan to get is Beorn, correct?
Yeah, looks like it.
So why don't you all meet me there?
Okay.
And then we'll just proceed north together.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Wait, why are you splitting up? Off?
Because I don't want to deal with Dodie.
Oh, I see.
It's understandable.
But Dodie is north of Bjorn's house.
I know. I'm going to give that inn a wide berth.
Oh, I see. That bad, huh?
There's Reed Mace off to the west of it. I can pick some up.
There is evil there that does not sleep.
It's too hyper. It can't sleep.
It does not simply walk into Easterly Inn.
Okay. Hey, Ash. Yeah, you.
So, Ash is not there either.
Oh, she's not here? Okay.
No,
Damn.
she's probably with River right now.
Okay. If anyone sees Ash, tell her not to move.
Yeah, I'd suggest that after breakfast, you, Robar, go out and ask the people of this town here, whoever wants to join us.
There's like a council of elders or something here, right?
No, there's not really a council of elders. They're
Okay.
the sort of there are sort of people that are well respected that get turned to, actually, including the Hill, which is the river's father, but also obviously Radagast, who lives right there, is kind of like the de facto, leader, so to speak. And you've actually already spent some time talking to him yesterday. So there's him, and then there's also, but you could gather the people of Roscabel together easily enough if you wish to.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's once we finish breakfast, we'll start there.
Okay. All right, so you're going to be doing that as you assemble. We'll start there since that's the most proximate group of people that you're going to be assembling. So, all right, let's move you back over to here. So when breakfast concludes, we'll move the river off somewhere else. Neither river nor stone is there. So the town meeting place, such as it is likely to take place in. I need to get access to another one of my books. In that hall there, but I don't want to explain the hall until I actually see it, so I don't misdescribe it. It's a small place and I open it up, 700,000 feet wide, and okay, so
Small place, aka biggest room ever.
yeah, exactly, aka enormous. Okay, it is. There we go. So this is the Great Hall, and as you enter the Great Hall, I should mention, because I assume the three of you are going to be there at least, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the Great Hall is, in a way, it's interesting because it's kind of the smallest of the halls of the woodmen, and this is counting Mountain Hall. Remember, those are technically woodmen as well, even though they're in the mountains. But it is easy to defend with narrow doors, and there are sturdy walls and lots of weapons that are close at hand. And at the head of the hall, near essentially the chieftain's seat, and the chieftain, there really hasn't been a chieftain here for some time, but again, it becomes one of the more respected people, is a special stool which is reserved for Radagast. And so this hall faces kind of towards the stand of woods. And as you assemble the people, you notice that Radagast is also there. And Radagast sort of goes in and takes his place on his stool. The river's father comes in and makes his way up. He does not sit at the chieftain's seat. He basically just sits near it, kind of on one of the chairs that are there. And a lot of the other people, as they gather, same way. And the hall, although it is smaller, is small for the hall. It's still the largest building in this place. And so by the time all is said and done, you have probably a good over 100, maybe 130, 140 people there. Now that doesn't count all of them. There are some who are older or, and who are too sick to come. There are some who are being tended for injuries, and there are some who are not here because they're out tending sheep or, dealing with stuff out in the woods. But this is a pretty good representative number when you have assembled them, and they sort of wait expectantly looking at you folks to explain what they're doing there.
Am I gonna? Okay, it's me. Okay. Thanks for is this thing on? thanks for coming, everyone. We don't really have a name for us, but we are the folk who have been helping you guys a little bit. My name is Robar Staunton, and I need your help. I need your vote. Running for city council this year. There is a villain who just so happens to be called Vigland, who in the East Upper Vales. He has an army of perhaps several hundreds bandits and mercenaries, blackguards, one and all. And perhaps word of him has traveled this far south. He is someone who is a threat to us all, but particularly he is a threat to my kin, my sister, and my folk that live there as well. If I do not journey northward soon with an army at my back to defeat Vigland, then his darkness will spread and my family will be slaughtered. So I need soldiers, anyone that can fight. We're asking everyone that we know. And so we're starting here. I appreciate that maybe you don't have that many soldiers who are willing to travel that far northwards with a stranger. But if there is anyone here that would come with me, I would be indebted to you for a lifetime. Which, by the way, I'm a Dunedain, so that's...
It's been a while.
I name drop the Dunedain.
Okay.
So that's the pitch. Anyone feeling good about it?
So there's
I was up until the end there.
He's sweating so hard. You've never seen him look so cold.
This is what -7 charisma looks like in action.
so there's this sort of awkward silence, and you hear one lone cricket at the back of the hall, and everyone's kind of looking around, and then the hill, the river's father, clears his throat. He stands unsteadily. What?
The hill? I
Yeah.
thought he'd be like the lake or the...
Yeah, no, that's what everyone else is saying. He's not the lake, no, he's the hill. He's the hill that leads to the river. I don't know. But the hill stands a little unsteadily. He's still obviously suffering from his injuries, and he kind of stands up and kind of takes a few faltering steps forward, and puts his hands on the back of one of the chairs, and he says, I thought that I had no hope until my daughter appeared. Almost as if out of a dream, she came with these people, her friends, and her colleagues who fought with her. This group of people, he turns and faces the entire hall, meant that I could survive, and that warning could be brought back to Roscabel. And I will not allow them to go away empty-handed. If I must go myself, limping, on one leg, I'll fight if I have to protect us. And so should all of you. We've spent too long behind these walls. It's time that we were outside of them again. And he kind of stops. You get the impression his voice is a little hoarse, and you get the impression that he's like both emotionally moved, but also kind of like, you got the impression that this is not usually the way, like he's not this forceful usually, like that's not his thing. So he's kind of like really pouring himself into this to the extent that he can. And so he kind of takes a few steps back, and sits down again, and there's sort of a small stirring. And then one person sort of tentatively stands in the back, and it's an older man with silver gray hair, long around his shoulders, and he says, "While I'm grateful to these, and grateful that they've brought the Rivers family back, we do have to think as well about our own borders. We've already been invaded here. We've had people taken in the night. Even a wizard," and he sort of clearly is not looking directly at Radagast. He sort of like kind of has his eyes slightly off, and he's like, "Even our wizard was unable to protect us. I'm sorry for his family and for what you've been through," he sort of says, looking at you again, Robar, "but..."
I look at him like he's dead to me.
And he's like, "But our people must also protect themselves." And you hear there's sort of a murmuring, like as if some of them, it seems like a murmuring of disagreement, like some people maybe agree with him, other people's like, they're kind of like, kind of murmur goes through the crowd as they're kind of talking to each other about what this all means. And Radagast sort of clears his throat meaningfully and looks over at the party. Not necessarily at you, Robar, although I guess it could be, but at everybody.
Still me. Okay. You can, by all means, you can cower behind your walls, and that's I won't blame you. But I have traveled with the rivers for some time, and I know her to be old of heart and not someone to let their friends suffer. That's why I came here in the first place, to help her. And you are her kin. I expect the same of you.
And there's sort of there's kind of a again, some murmuring, like, seems somewhat kind of, allied again, sort of like, maybe, yeah, possibly. And then a woman stands and she says, well, I don't see much the point of having walls in the first place when, as I was literally just, this is good timing.
And she's out.
Yeah, and she departs.
Short pleasure.
That's okay. I was just starting up Discord, and then I'm like, she's here. Okay, good. Okay, suddenly the party's world is fragmented. Horrified. Okay. They are broken. Okay, we'll correct that problem right now as we're addressing this, because we have someone who's going to enter into the equation in just a moment.
Robot's like, I already revealed my royalty. I can't do it again here.
It's not going to have the same effect. It's just
not going to do the same.
I need time to recharge.
I haven't hit my cooldown yet. You're what? Never mind.
How much do I lean into? Well, my bloodline says that I'm a king, so you should probably just help me out.
Well, I am king. Oh, king, eh? Very nice.
Todd lobs his scimitar.
Put me away. Shut up. Okay, hold on a second as I get this ready.
All of you Dunedain a king in some way, shape, or form.
All I ever hear with the Dunedain is I'm mysterious and a king. Like, what is wrong with you people? You have any janitors? Like, who? All right.
It's the equivalent of, well, we did have an empire for English people. Can't be used in your favor.
That's true. I suppose the British revealing royalty these days doesn't help them as much as it might have been back in the past, right? It was not.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Not quite the same effect. Okay. All right, and let us get this person up.
So now
here.
we just need to find a sword and a stone, I guess.
That's exactly right. Okay, so I am going to introduce Amal properly in a minute and congratulate. But before I do that, Amal, I'm going to throw you right into the midst of this because this is actually good timing. There is a meeting taking place in the hall, the Great Hall, where Robar is trying to rally some of the woodsmen to his cause as he's prepared to go north to rescue his sister. And so he has delivered his speech.
Kill the speech.
The speech has been okay, and
Listen, everybody was dead silent afterwards.
yeah, exactly.
Tony's been cooking the whole time.
Yeah, Toddy's still cooking.
He just got his face stuffed with things like.
Yeah, exactly. So your father, actually, the Hill, has actually spoken, of course, in favor of these people going. And yet a couple of people have said, well, but we've already had people invade our walls and come in already. Can we even trust this, et cetera, et cetera? And so I think this is a good moment. Again, I will introduce you properly in just a bit, but I think it's a good moment for the river at this point to walk in. You can tell me whether or not you're accompanied by Ash. Everyone woke up in the morning and you were not there. I don't know what that means whatever you want it to mean. But you came into the hall. And this is the moment where everyone's already seated. So when you come into the hall, you hear, I would say, the tail end of what your father had said, and then you heard also one of the elders, not the elder, but one of them, kind of one of the older members of the village, kind of being like, I don't know whether this is really such a good idea. And then Robar said this thing about, look, you can cower behind your walls, but this is going to affect all of you eventually. And so you're now in the back of the hall, so you could make your way to the front if you wish, River.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm sorry, I'm just imagining River being like the most typical bard possible, and the like, oh, what? There was an important meeting this morning? Oh gosh, I think I have slept through it.
My bad. I'm sorry.
I put it on your calendar.
Reasons that are definitely not following me into the hall as we speak, or anything like that. Yeah. No, so yeah, I think River will walk in with both Ash and Stone, and catch the tail end of this and kind of gauge the mood of the room first of all.
Uncertain would be the way I would describe that. There's definitely some disagreement in both directions. There are some people who seem like they're like, this is a good idea. There are others who seem more hesitant. It's sort of in flux.
Okay. About rallying to fight. So let me just make sure I have this in my head. So she's walking in, it's a big room full of people who she knows.
Correct. It's the Great Hall as well, which is the smallest of the hall of the Woodsman overall, but it's still the biggest thing in this, like the Mountain Hall, etc. But it's the largest in Roscabel, so it's where the typically big meetings like this would be held.
Right. And the proposal is to go north to support, to help Robar's sister and okay. So she'll walk in sort of with trying to basically not look rushed, but like urgent and intent, and look around and get that feeling of the room. And I don't know, like if all heads have swiveled to her, then
I give you urgent eyes, like,
yeah.
See
Help
me.
me!
Right.
Hey, public speaking. And I
River
hate the public.
widens slightly as she suddenly realizes what has probably happened here, and looks around, kind of meets the eyes of several people who she knows, and nods before raising her voice and saying, "It is morning, right?"
It is morning. Oh yes.
Okay, just get a sense of.
Yeah, but not like, I mean, like maybe like 10:30, 11. It's not like incredibly early.
Okay, so she says, "Good morning, friends, family. Are we discussing when we're riding north?"
It's kind of an awkward silence.
For some, when. For others, whether.
That surprises me.
That kind of weather. Gotcha.
Yes, with an H.
Gotcha. Yeah. I knew that. No, I knew that.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Then,
just
like,
discussing
when Tony said weather, just like one person in the audience is like, "Hey, what are you talking about me?"
Hey! Oh.
That's my cousin. Whatever.
I'm waiting for somebody else to go, they both have an H, and then what are you talking about?
We're getting off the point, they say.
River looks around and says, "That surprises me. For us, who have so recently been helped by strangers, who have so recently been aided and supported by those we did not know, I would have thought us to be more eager to return the favor to those who we don't yet know, but who might become our friends in turn. Is that not the case?"
And there is sort of this pause. And hello to the raiders, by the way. My raid thing is not going up yet, but I'm sure will in just a moment.
Courtesy raid thing. It's Nocturne with a party of 9.
Yes, but thank you, Nocturne. Welcome. Thank you so much for the raid, and welcome to Adventures of Middle Earth. So I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm out.
That's okay. I'll help you out here.
Say the last part again.
Because as soon as she mentions, so eager to return the favor, Tawny looks kind of uncomfortable
Okay.
at the mention of that.
And she says, "Oh, Nocturne is Wenchkin. Oh, cool. Welcome, Wenchkin / Nocturne. Good to see you, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Welcome, everybody." There's a sort of kind of this uncomfortable pause, and then the older guy that had spoken before, who you recognize again, River, as being someone who has been in the village for a long time, like, you know, has been a member for a long time, and you can remember actually that this is someone who taught you some early woodcraft. You know, when your father was not teaching you to whittle, he would actually teach you about sort of how to determine which trees it was okay to cut wood from and which would be dangerous to do so because it would have an effect on the way the trees grew and etc. And so he says, "You must understand that we are grateful, as I've said, to what's been done to help us here. And grateful, of course, most to you for coming and rescuing your father in the hour of need." There's the raid signal, a little late, but there it is. He says, "And I am most thankful myself that someone that I care about deeply in your family has been preserved. But we must make sure not to give way to impulsiveness. If this place that we live in is no longer safe, then perhaps it is best if we try to build our defenses and then do what we can to aid others. If we go forth now as a force, it would leave us totally unguarded and unprotected from anyone that might come later. At least that is how it seems to me." And he sits down. You can see that he seems like very uncomfortable, like he doesn't even really want to meet your eyes, River. He was already kind of avoiding looking at Radagast, Radagast doesn't really glare at people, but like he has this sort of way of kind of just steadily looking at people that can be a little off, just troubling. So this guy does the same thing basically, where he's just sort of like not looking at you either, and then kind of sits down. And again, there is this sort of murmur of some yes, some no, like people kind of not sure what to make of it.
River actually looks like she takes that on board, and she looks like she where previously she was a little baffled and stern, she softens a little bit and says, "I understand the reluctance, and perhaps I misspoke. Perhaps I should not speak in terms of favor or debt or any such thing, because what we're doing now, this world in which we live, is not one where we should be content to requite each other's kindnesses as if repaying coin. That's not what we should be doing. We should realize, I think, that this is a danger that is unlike any we have faced before. It is everywhere. It is rising. It is growing. And staying alone, staying small, and staying hidden is only a recipe for being gobbled up more quickly. It seems to me that I remember actually this very place that
I'm sorry. Pause. Put a pause on that for a second, Mal. We had a disconnection here. I thought I had this. I thought I might have had this fixed because I moved things around, but nope. That's where I'm wrong. God, I hate this. Anyway, we are still recording just fine. So, but we gotta wait to. Hang on.
I can take this opportunity to take a bio break. I'll be right back.
Okay. This will be back up in about 9 seconds.
So push hard.
That's new. The disconnect screen.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Okay.
And
There you go. Now it should be
There
back
we
up.
are.
Okay. Right. So back up. Sorry about that. Continue not to know why that's happening. I thought I had this fixed, but apparently not. So anyway.
So
Okay.
River,
Sorry. On you go, River.
Right. So just speaking of needing to be connected connected and things, and we're facing a great danger. And she says, I remember being taught by several of you here that she who flies from a fear may have only taken a shortcut to meet it. And that what we should be doing instead of staying here, entrenching and being alone, is to go and meet these things that we are fearing, these things that are affecting and attacking us, to go and counter them while they are rising, while they are still small. Because if we wait until they've grown stronger, we're only waiting for a defeat that we haven't done anything to counter. I am riding with Robar because he is my friend, and because he has stood by me and in my time of need at great personal cost. And I don't think that I would be a person I would want any of you to call friend if I didn't ride now to help him. I know this is a grave thing to ask of any of us when we have all lost so much here, but I hope you will consider it, not because of a debt or anything like that, but because it's our best chance to defeat this and to stay ourselves.
And there's a long pause, and then you see this woman rise from the back, younger actually, rise, not that much older than you probably, River, and rise sort of in the back, and she says, I cannot speak for anyone else, but I will ride with them. If our walls aren't safe, then what does it matter if we're here or there? We might as well go there and try to stop the evil where it is. That's what we've been taught. And she sort of looks around, remains standing, kind of hands on hips. I would like Robar and River to both make persuasion checks for me, please.
Oh, charisma 10.
With advantage for having a fantastic breakfast.
There are inspirations. I do want to remind chat. I also want to mention to chat while we're on that subject that if we hit 2,000 during this broadcast, which I really hope we do on the Kickstarter, I will give an inspiration to the party. So I shall provide an inspiration if we arrive at $2,000. So consider supporting the.
Make it happen.
Woo!
18. I'm so persuasive.
Hey. All right, let's see what we get with.
There's something about him you can't help.
Like, people just have pity on you.
It's unconventional. But
yeah.
Is that rank desperation?
That's good.
But what if I want to give inspirations? Oh, you could still do that, Non. Of course. I mean, that's definitely still here. That'll still be the case. Well, because you can do that already. And
letting us all down here.
He's endearing in an awkward way, like a sad puppy.
Yeah.
Like a sad puppy who's revealed royalty once too often. Like I can't.
Sometimes I feel like the bard around here.
He says, casually putting his hand back to lean on the table, which isn't there. Okay, so let's see. So when you say these things, you notice, and she speaks her piece as well, you see that a few other people start to rise. And there are some both young and old. In fact, there's one or two who are very old, and then a couple that seem like not much more than children. And more and more of them begin to do this, and eventually you find that there are probably about 30 or 35, let's say, people standing out of the 125, 130 people, let's say, that are standing in the room. And they all sort of look around at each other, and then they look back up at presumably Robar and or the river.
Who are both still eating, by the way.
Well, we're here. Okay.
Who in the meantime have consumed a lot of bacon that Tani made them, I guess.
So they are a little indecisive still.
I am still super embarrassed about this role. I realized I was trying to talk about that while muted. But was I supposed to wait for inspiration?
Well, I mean, you could have, but that would have been up to whether the people wanted to give it to you. It's possible.
Okay.
If you know, normally I wouldn't allow it, but since now that we actually have, and also this now gives me a chance to actually introduce you properly. So Aradinel has inspired the river. Okay, so you'll get to roll that again. Once you roll that again, then I'll let you introduce yourself, Mel.
All right, thank you. I do feel like she would genuinely have actually been.
I would think so.
Inspired before doing this, so I'm going to.
Thank you, Aradinel.
Or just give her the role that's already there.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, or I could use the role that's already there.
I think we probably ought to do it the right way.
And it's a no from me.
So what's going to happen now is she's going to get a natural 20.
Hey,
Hey!
Oh.
She did, and yeah, that's right. So technically, that worked in that way. Yep, called it. It's pretty amazing. So I would.
$4 million, Trent.
That's pretty impressive. So I would say, yeah. So I would say another probably 20. I would say people stand up at that. More than the ones I had originally said. So you now find yourself with maybe about 50. River, you look over to see that also your father, the Hill, who spoke originally, has still been standing, kind of leaning unsteadily on the back of a chair. But he has remained standing this whole time.
River suddenly feeling extremely hypocritical. Wanting her father.
Everyone but you.
Yeah.
The River suddenly remembering the Mulan plot and is like, wait, no.
I mean, I think she'll maybe just talk to him later and be like, consider your wife, my mother, who is extremely sad and needs help, and also that you're emaciated and will be no good in a fight.
Yes, these are all things that will be helpful. But
yeah, RuPaul's like, I don't want this guy fighting on my side. Just leave him.
At the moment, he's a good sort of shaming prop for anyone who doesn't want to stand. But anyway, no, River looks at all of the people standing and feels tears welling in her eyes, and just looks to all of them, and really to all the ones who are standing, not to anyone who's still sitting, and just looks at them as if she could just pour her thanks out through her eyes, and kind of nods to them and says, "Thank you," and then looks to Robar in a sort of look that is the look only equivalent of, but yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
And there is a moment's silence, which will give us a chance to allow Amal to finally introduce herself. So, Amal, welcome. Did everything is it all good?
I am officially a B fucking D.
Hey.
I have successfully defended my dissertation proposal. So now all I have to do is finish writing it. So I am knocking repeatedly on wood. Oh, my cat is here. Hello, Devin.
Cat is not made of wood.
No, his cat's not made of wood. I'm not knocking on him. I'm petting him softly. He's extremely cute. Look how cute he is. Oh, there he is. Look how cute he is. Oh.
He's like, I'm extremely impressed by your.
Yes, super impressed. So yeah, it was great. It was actually extremely gratifying because I walked in feeling really nervous and having messed up a bunch of things this morning as part of my psychological prep for everything. And I walked in and sat down, and the first thing that the examiner said was, "It's a pass. Let's just get that out of the way." And then we could proceed to just have a conversation about the dissertation proposal and brainstorm stuff, and it was really great. So that was lovely. We talked for ages. I'm very excited. I am very hopeful of, by this time next year, being graduated and a doctor. That is my ambition. I am going to state it. I don't want to be in this program another fucking minute. I just want to be done so badly. So yeah, so it is, that's the thing. That's what I was doing instead of being here on time.
It's a perfectly legitimate reason. Congratulations. I very much know the feeling, so congratulations.
Thank you
Very
so
much
much.
congratulations. And Tari, to answer your question, BD stands for Bacon Devourer.
Yeah.
Makes sense, of course.
We already had a moment where there was a grease fire when they first got up, Amal, and so
Really?
so the reaction was
The bacon is lit.
the bacon is lit.
The bacon is lit. Wow, amazing.
Should mention that the grease fire only happened specifically for that pun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was basically a pun-specific event. Yeah.
We manufactured the disaster so that we could.
For a brief moment, Roscabel had been teleported into Xanth. It was just awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Chernobyl of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we're waking up and Roscabel is just on fire. Sure.
What you get for making it out of wood?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh man, but yeah. So to answer your question, Atari, it's all but dissertation is what ABD stands for, which is funny though because like those letters, if you were to read them in Arabic, it would spell abid, which is the word for servant and or slave. But you know, it's usually in the context of like Abdullah, like servant of God, that sort of thing. So still very much
Servant to
in
the committee is what it
service-
stands for.
Yeah, it's very much in the service of this PhD program, but whatever. Soon.
No, congratulations. Obviously, I can actually congratulate you about something that isn't related to writing. I mean, it'd be like, you know, and there's this too. You know, which is great. So.
Yeah, I'm the other thing I was gonna say is like related to that. I'm still waiting for like the official offer, but I think I can tell you guys I've also been offered a job by the University of Ottawa, like a limited term appointment, as it's called. So
Awesome.
I'm going to somewhat prematurely. Like it's always supposed to. Everything I do with this degree is backwards. It's supposed to be that you get the PhD, go on the job market. Instead, I am being given a job a year before the PhD is that anyway.
Take it and go. Thank you.
Yep,
So you can
yep.
lock that.
Take it and
bin-
run.
Lock that bin right now. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I might not tell you from now that my Tuesday schedule is going to be a little different, but come September, but we have time to figure that out.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's my stuff. Oh, no, I'll save this till afterwards. Never mind.
Okay.
Not my own news. But
So yes, so congratulations on that. That's great. Very happy to have Amal with us. I know, a PhD and a job. I know it's a strange concept. Look,
wacky.
We have both. It can sometimes happen. Okay. Oh yes. I'm sorry. You've been waiting patiently. Okay. So my daughter wants to show this off quickly, because she's here with me because she has no school at the moment. So it says, okay, let's hold it there. So she's got. That's supposed to be Inga on the horse, right? And so the word is.
Yay.
What does it say?
He's so strong he can carry me.
He's so strong he can carry me. And then the person watching says,
Egg, you're only like 40 pounds.
"You're only like 40 pounds."
Inga's actually really heavy. Like
That's
she
supposed to be
doesn't look like
Robar.
Muscle.
No, that's right.
That's Robar. That's awesome because of the bow and the
That's
hood.
wonderful.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
so cool.
Okay. Next, hey,
Bad
are
eyes.
you taking commissions? Because I would love to see you depict Robar trying to cross a river.
Okay, say that once again. I just put her headphones on. Say that again.
I was gonna say, if you're taking commissions, I would really love to see a drawing of Robar trying to cross a river.
She'll get right on that. Yeah.
It would just be a stream of water with bubbles.
Yeah,
coming
that's
out of it.
exactly.
Just draw a river.
Just draw a river. You'll get to see more experience there. Yeah, you will see more of the little Larv experience since she is obviously home from school and she is, as I said before, now officially a 6th grader. So, which is bizarre, like so bizarre to me that she's that age.
It's gonna be like in The Little Prince, where like the little prince asks the pilot to draw a sheep, and then he's just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna draw a box," and the sheep is in the box.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. What a wonderful and incredibly sad at the same time book, but really, really beautiful book. Anyway, so it's a pleasure to have Amal with us, and now we continue with the full crew. So, as I say, probably about 50 people or so are now standing, and Robar, your sort of quick kind of like once over of them gives you the sense that there's a good number of these that probably are pretty serviceable. You know, there's maybe 30 or 35 of them that look fairly strong and hardy. You can see some of them even have axes slung at their belts. You know, they look like they've seen some stuff, and you know just from what you've heard from the river and just sort of in general reputation that the woodsmen, you know, didn't manage to survive in these places by sort of being gentle. Like they figured out a way to kind of carve their sort of place in the land. And So that's good. There's probably some others that are more aspirational than actual in terms of like how legitimate they would be. There's a few who look very young, and you're kind of like, they look a little nervous, as they're standing there, and then a few that are probably well past their day where they really were fighting effectively. And yet still, there's a good 35 of these anyway that are pretty solid, and the others are at least standing and functional, one way or the other.
Yeah, he kind of surveys them for a moment, I suppose, and says, "Thank you, friends. I won't forget this. But time is short, and we have many more allies that we must call in. We are headed northwards as soon as we can. I believe our band is headed out this morning. For those of you who can travel with us today, if you need time, then you can follow behind us. We'll show you a map and the route which we plan to take. If you can come with us right now, that would be great too."
And Inge steps forward and is like, for those of you that we met at the tower and either can't fight or for whatever reason are not willing to fight, you are also welcome to travel with us north. If it's on your route, it's safer to travel in groups, obviously. But also we are gonna need to send out messages to different places, and if any of those places are your destination, then you can help us that way by delivering those messages there.
And there's some sort of general nodding. Even the people that are sitting seem to be more on board with all of this at this point now that a decision's been made. And for the first time, Radagast actually stands up. And so immediately the room falls silent, and everybody kind of looks over at him as he stands, and he says, "I'm glad you've come to a decision. It's a decision that I might wish had come even more swiftly." And he kind of lets his eyes quickly kind of flicker over the crowd, and then he says, "But I understand that these are difficult times for all. My blessing goes with you who go with these 4 adventurers who have chosen to serve a greater cause than themselves, and in some ways the most important causes too, in the saving of family. As you go forth, though, there will be moments of shadow. I want you to remember the light." And he kind of points upwards, and through the hall, there are these open areas at the top of the roof that can be shuttered in case of attack, and a couple of them are now open. And almost as if on cue, although clearly he can't actually control the sun, shafts of light kind of shine through and land on some of the people, and it's probably just an accident and a coincidence, no doubt, that some of those shafts fall directly on all 4 of you, on the Rivers family, on Ash standing silently behind you, and on some of the others who were actually standing at the same time. And all of you sort of look around at each other, illuminated like that in the sunlight for a good long while. All right, I want to jump forward to when we are now leaving Roskabel, and I will give the River a chance to speak if she wishes, or anyone to do what they want, but I'll give the River a chance to speak if she wishes to her family just before departing and heading north.
So River, I think what River will want to do first is have a quiet word with her father to the effect of, "I really appreciate your willingness to come along, but I hope you will not, and in fact stay here and do what is perhaps the harder work of staying with my mother and looking after her and everyone here and yourself after that ordeal."
So he sighs. Just a quick note: you got pretty quiet again, Mel.
Okay.
So, but he sort of looks, and you can see that he seems kind of like resistant, and he says, You know I don't want to leave your mother behind, but you've just come, and now you have to leave again so swiftly, and after having rescued me. You know, I taught you, not just me, but I was part of it, that taught you to be this way, to go and help people that needed helping, and to sacrifice when necessary. I'm not much of a father if I can't actually do what I taught others to do, now can I? He says.
I'm trying very
sorry,
hard
it's okay. I was trying
make
to...
the sound work.
Where is this conversation taking place?
I would say right near the gates of Roscabel. Like, basically the group is assembled behind you. There are some horses. I should say, by the way, that not all of them have horses, but many of them do. And the ones that... There's basically a line sort of lined up, you know, at the gate with you four at the head of it.
Okay, is the sound better?
Yes, much better, thank you.
Because pretty much from the moment that during the meeting that that the hill had mentioned going along, and the river was like, pretty much ever since that moment, Tawny's been like he wants to interject, but he hasn't quite. So he is definitely going to at some point before we leave. So I wanted to make sure I knew where this was happening.
Sure. I'm imagining this would be like as everyone else is like filtered out of the hall, that she would just approach him and say this. So she looks at him and like with just overwhelming, melting love, and says, "You did teach me all of these things, but I think you also taught me timing and knowing when to let the person you're teaching step forward and for you to step back. I wish I could stay longer, and I want to stay longer. All I want right now is to stay and look after you both, but I feel like the best way to do that is still for me to go forth. But it would ease my mind so much knowing that you were both here together, and that Mother wasn't looking after both of us, leaving her in such a short space of time."
As if on cue, the weaver comes up and slips her hand into your father's as it hangs by his side. And he looks down at her and then looks back at you. And you can see there's almost a struggle of some kind going on. And then his shoulders slump and he says, "You teach wisdom too, my daughter. You're probably right." And he looks back up and he says, "If you don't come back this time, though, I will come find you wherever it is. We have to sometimes rescue each other when need's upon us, huh?"
River nods and smiles and just enfolds them both in a big, big hug.
And so there's that embrace for just a moment, and everyone kind of quietly, passes around. Those ones who were left, kind of pass around you. And then the weaver hands you, as you are sort of departing, this thing which looks essentially to be some kind of either embroidered, perhaps, piece, and clearly woven, of course, with great skill, which can actually fit upon the cloak. And it is what clearly looks like a sort of waving river that has been done in blues upon it. And so it sort of stands out even from the blue cloak a little bit because it's kind of this darker blue. And she says, "This isn't an official badge or anything, but it's, it's got our love with it. And maybe when times are darkest, you can think about that. When perhaps you hold your hand to it, you'll remember there's a piece of home with you."
River looks at it very lovingly, and she says, I'll keep it over my heart.
And again, you all embrace, and then she lifts her hand. I would say that thing she gives to you at the gate, actually. And so the gate then creaks open, and all of you depart with Robar at the head, and the three of you like immediately behind, with the first of your army, Robar, sort of walking after you in the sunlight of the late afternoon. This is a good reset point for just a moment to say welcome everybody who is here. You are watching day 46 of Adventures in Earth Middle Wilderland Adventures. We're calling this Robar Revealed. This is sponsored, of course, by Cubicle 7.
Sponsored by Will Jones. I've demanded this episode be called
Exactly. I'll take that. Sponsored by Encounter Roleplay, which is supporting my Kickstarter at $3,000 a day. No,
There you go.
I feel like if you're going to call it Robar Revealed, that's like promising quite a lot that you have to deliver on.
There's a romance arc coming later on. I
feel like there should be a calendar.
It's not sponsored by Magic Mike. See, that's exactly right. That is
correct.
Robar Revealed. Aww.
Who's to find out who he really is?
So
he's mysterious. The girls just want to get to know him better.
Oh my god.
Good God.
Oh, quick question. Is Ash coming with them, or is Ash staying?
Oh, good question.
So I would say that Ash is coming with you. Yes, I would say that she and a few. In fact, now remember the slaves were kind of decimated the first time, but they were pretty heavily damaged, and by which I mean not the actual meaning of decimated, but
I was going to say, then there's 90% of them left.
No, more than that. Devastated might be a better way to put it. And so many of them injured and so forth, but there were still probably a good only 5 or 6. But these are good, like some of her lieutenants and so on that ride with you silently. Ash doesn't say much usually and under any circumstances, but even as she kind of rides alongside you, every so often you will feel sort of a brush against your arm, and then you'll look over and she's like looking away like, no, nothing's going on, just going forward, whatever, as you continue up to the north. I did want to mention as well, we got your commission of art, so I'll show you the commissioned art in just a minute. Yeah, I'll show you this in just a minute, but I also want to mention to everybody else, by the way, for those who just may have come in, that I am in the midst of running a Kickstarter, which is for a story that I hope becomes as beautiful as the one that's being told with this wonderful party, and that is my Icarus Jelinek Kickstarter with wonderful art from Acela Fabio. It is running right now. We'd like it to kind of pick up a little bit. It's been a little slow, and we'd like to see more people jump on board with it, and I am actually willing to give the party an inspiration if we get to 2,000 today. So please consider supporting it. As you saw, Erdenel just posted this up there. We have a lot of people who are, behind it and supporting it. I got this amazing tweet from Ed Greenwood that was like one of those 12-year-old me's will be continually pleased about this for a long time, but I was honored. So I please pledge, and if you can't do that, at the very least, if you can just spread the word through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, that really does make a difference as we're trying to make a push going forward here. I just think the art is so good that I really also, for the artist's sake, who is not me, I want him to be able to succeed with this also. So, okay. Yes,
as we mentioned on Saturday night on Adventures, no, not Adventures. What was that thing we played on
Beyond,
Saturday?
yeah.
Thank you, that thing. I knew it started with a vowel. One of the things that I said that night, and I will reiterate to this crowd, is if you have Twitter, go to Twitter and make a tweet about the thing, and include like a screenshot of the thing and then a link to and then once you send that tweet, copy the link to it, paste it into chat, and then everybody go and retweet that thing. Yeah. And then if each person sends a tweet, we all bring our links in and we all go in and we cross-pollinate the likes and retweets of everything. It's a huge bonus.
It really is, yeah.
To the thing.
It really is. And thank you, Tren. Yeah, it really is, and I would appreciate that very much if folks could do that. And if you
don't have Twitter, do it on Instagram.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Whatever your site happens to be. And I know that this is not. I really hate feeling like I don't want to seem like a carnival barker.
I'll do that.
Do the undercoding, but
I have no problem being a barker.
But I appreciate that. It's something I'm very proud of. And so this story, I'm very proud of it, and the art is wonderful. And Ballstag, who is of course the publisher, one part of the publisher, the managing editor at Athos Arts, is the one doing this. So again, everyone's worked really hard, and I hope we can get some traction on it. So yes, thank you, Trent. Okay, the other thing, of course, is, so here's the commission. So I will hold this up.
Wait, I have to see. I have to switch. I'm making a tweet, but now
Let me go. No, I don't want to do that. I want everyone to see your reaction. So.
All right, I'm looking.
So first of all, hold on a second. Now notice that that's stone.
Oh wait, you have to pull it back a little bit because I can't quite.
There you go. Yeah, there we go.
A little bit more to the other.
Your left.
Your left.
Oh yeah, because I'm sorry, because your cam is different. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Aha! There we go. Pause. Yes.
So the river is saying. So he's trying to get across the stream, and the river is saying, Robar, you realize you can just step over the stream. And Robar's like, but there has to be an easier way.
Yeah, right.
Control so hard.
Oh, that's so good.
Beautiful.
Oh man.
My day. Oh, that's
I told
wonderful.
you, my daughter is the best. People are like, oh, everyone says that. I'm like, no, but only I'm right, okay?
Yeah.
It reminds me of an old episode of Gilligan's Island where they were talking about we had to walk from England. We had to take a step and come up for air, and take another step and come up for air, and take another step and come up for air.
Exactly. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, good stuff. It's good stuff. They were talking about how it reminded them of some other things they had seen. It was really good. As you sort of move out of Roscabel, I think we can now actually jump forward. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have us do this as a journey. I'm not going to do this as the journey rules, and the reason is because you're also dealing with this massive force that is just basically, I think it's going to scare away most potential enemies, and I think the ones that are not scared away, it would be very difficult to sort of arrange how everyone would handle it. So we're going to skip over that portion of it for here. So the question then is how the party wants to arrange this. Now, I know you had some ideas about sending messengers and things like that. So what I would like is specifics from people about what messages you're sending and how, and then what the path is that you're taking. Like, are you sending messages to everybody and you're just beelining north, or are you going north but stopping en route at, like, you know, Mountain Hall or whatever the case may be?
Hey, amigo, what's up? It's your boy, Robar. Want to meet me at the northeast half of Vales?
Well, right. I also want to know that too. Like, is that what it is? Like, that's what Robar's message would sound like?
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be a bit more serious. Okay. I know. I need someone else. I need someone to help me write a letter, because last time I wrote a letter to the group, they were hating me, so I left it with Johnny. So you know.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. You know, it would be in urgent tones, with all haste, Robar calls for raid.
This is to the Eagles, right?
Yeah, this is directly to the Eagles. I'm just speaking to a butterfly at this point.
Since one of them owes Tawny a favor anyway.
Right.
Correct.
Tawny would be happy to help you with what?
I said correct. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tawny would be fine in helping you with this.
So
okay.
The eagle that you're speaking to, because you're able to essentially summon, you had said that you'd be able to do that. So the eagle, when they arrives and talking to you, one of the things that the eagle is willing to do that, to go where you want them to do. Of course, the eagle can only go, you know, one direction at a time, and they can assemble other eagles to help. But in addition to doing that, the eagle would want, you know, there are some places, for example, even the Mountain Hall, some people that kind of would, as we know from The Hobbit, would fire at them with bows of yew because they would be afraid they were after their sheep, I believe is the way the line goes in The Hobbit. And so there is some of that. So you'd have to send, in all likelihood, Robar, a document of some kind with them, or some sign, basically, of where people need to go. So that letter that you just said about the sort of all haste and everything, I think that's fine. But what I'm curious about is, how would you sign it? Because, like, in other words, you just like Robar Dunedain, or would you
Robar King under the mountain? No.
Well, but that's what I'm curious about here. Yeah. I mean, there is of course, you realize when you reveal your royalty in this way, it means that you make yourself into a theoretical target, and yet at the same time, I'm just bringing this up because you recall that Aragorn himself wonders about when's the moment. So this may very well, I think this probably is the moment, according to
this is the moment, you know.
So then how are you signing it at the end? Not just Robar Dunedain, but what?
Yeah, I think maybe there's a moment where we're like sitting around writing these letters like it's fucking Christmas and we're sending cards.
Just passing them around the table.
Robar said, you know, should I sign this in some kind of official manner? I mean, I could. I never have before.
Well, I mean,
What is your title, Robar?
I don't know exactly. I guess I'd be Lord Staunton. Would that be correct? Or
You are a lord?
Absolutely.
I mean, technically, yeah.
Absolutely.
I
100%.
figure it just.
Well, Your Highness. And like Inge does like a very over-exaggerated bow, like totally taking the piss out of Robar.
Yeah, that's why I don't say it.
I feel like River would like start going. Trying to think of River would be trying to think of like different forms of address and everything, things which I guess would be traditions, but then would look to Tawny, remembering that he knows quite a lot more about this than she does, but just would try to frame it in the like. I figure the work that River is doing here is going, okay, you're sending this to who? Okay, well in that case, it'd be best to phrase it this way.
Right.
Then kind of coordinate that with Tawny in terms of whether she's on the money with that.
Okay. Sorry, I'm closing out my Twitter. I got a bunch of Twitter hits just now, so I was like also looking over. Sorry. Yes. So thank you for those who have already tweeted. Thank you.
Inge also writes an extra note for the letter that goes to the Erebor.
What does she say?
While you're thinking of that, those of you who just sent those tweets out for Arv and whatnot, copy the link and put them into the stream chat so that we can all retweet them.
Yeah, when you tweet them out, please put them. Yeah, please, when you tweet them out, put them in there. I've already retweeted and relinked and stuff like that. Thank you.
There it is.
Okay, sorry. On you go.
Bad at this. You know, like when it comes to like writing Christmas cards and stuff, I usually just write down Merry Christmas and draw a little doodle, so that I don't have to write much.
Yeah, if only the world of AME had Hallmark in it, so that the actual message was.
This is why we created Hallmark as a species.
Wish you were here, Sam the Shire.
But they're basically something along the lines of Robar is a personal friend of mine. Would very much appreciate it if my brothers and sisters or something like that could join. And also she writes that additional message in Kustul instead of
in what? I'm sorry. In
like the Dwarven language.
Yes. Is there now? I have a question for you about that. You sign it presumably yourself. Do you include any family runes, or remember you were carving out earlier in the campaign on various rocks and things like that? You would carve certain things, messages and runes and stuff like that, and I'm wondering if you do that on the letter as well or not.
Well, she of course signs us with as Inge, daughter of Ida, and like I'm assuming that like probably every family has like instead of like, you know, where in our world people have like coats of arms and stuff, like both have like maybe some runes or something.
Oh,
like
1000%.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
No
something
question.
like that.
Yep.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you do that. You send these letters off. Tani, are you waiting just to sort of see the Bjornings directly, or how are you addressing it? You know, if you are, you don't have to contribute to it if you don't want to that letter, but.
I mean, I'm adding my signature to the letters that are going like to the Mountain Hall and everywhere else, but for the stuff that's going specifically to the Bjornings, no, I'll probably deliver that personally.
Okay, cool.
Because I have to go through pretty much the entire range to get to Bjorn's
Yeah,
house.
you're gonna see.
And I need to
a lot
stop
of
and feed my chicken.
Right. And if I understand it from royalty, is Robar a king, or would he be like prince, or would he be lord, or what do you think would be?
I think Robar would. I mean, it's somewhat up to you, but I would think that Robar would have been a lesser king among. He would not have been at Aragorn's level, but he would
a
have
lesser
been,
king.
Essentially,
Lesser king.
I mean, signed lesser king. Yeah, or also just LK. Nobody called you that. Though. Look, listen.
Small K on the
Small
king.
K.
But you should have like 15 titles. Purger of the Veils.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, kinglet.
Mother of dragons.
Rider of eagles.
Rider of eagles, yeah.
Rider of eagles.
I mean,
yeah.
I also have to say too that when we hear sometimes that we're just kind of like, oh, whatever. That doesn't mean you're a middle manager. Like there were not a lot of. If you think about the governing structure, there were people that had to rule over the lands here, and there weren't many of them essentially to rule them. So the Dunedain, there's not that many of them, and so they are mostly kings, and so that's kind of a big deal. Like the lesser king is relative, so you're not Aragorn, okay? But like you're, but I mean, like you're still kind of a badass. So I just want to, as far as from the royalty point of view,
right.
So.
Do we want to claim my say that I'm the king?
Hedge king. Hedge king.
Yeah. I gotta piss people off.
Well, I mean, like more like heir to the throne of so and so.
Yeah.
Would probably
heir to the throne of.
Because you're not crowned king, so.
My Lord Regent of
King of the Vale or something like that. Yeah. Sure. Do we think that's gonna help, or is that gonna,
It ain't gonna hurt, especially putting the Eagle Rider thing in, because there were a lot of people who saw you leave Mountain Hall on an eagle. So there's,
that's true. Yeah.
There's some weight behind that one.
Okay. Well, we'll put that in, and we can deal with that later, I guess. Oh shit! I don't want to be a king so bad.
It's good to be.
This whole episode has just been things that make Robar uncomfortable, like Robar recalcitrant.
I'd have to do so many. I'd have to do so many speeches like that. Oh.
It's true and it's alliterative. I like it.
Thank you. That was what I spent my doctorate on. All right, it was being able to pull out recalcitrant at AME. Anyway, so you give this to the eagle, and you place it in a small sort of wooden scroll case, and hand it over. The eagle grabs it and sort of bows its head, and then turns and flies and takes off, strongly winging its way off. Now this is the other question. The path that you folks are going to take is going to be like, where do you want the eagle to go, and where are you folks covering? Obviously, Tani has said that he's going to cover the Bjornings. So does that mean you're sending the eagle west to Mountain Hall, etc., or what is the plan for that?
I think so. Yeah, I think we send the eagle to Mountain Hall.
I think that weren't the Mountain Hall people quite suspicious of eagles?
They were, but that had changed a little in sort of recent events, including the fact that, as you just pointed out, Robar left on one of these things.
All right.
That may have changed now. It's unlikely that they would like rain arrows down on them, but they wouldn't the eagle wouldn't just like wave a wing and they'd be like, right, let's get an army. Like that's why you need a letter. So.
Right. Well, I think an eagle might be more effective than just a letter to them, especially if they're somewhat reluctant. They did see me come and go, I guess, twice on the eagle, so I know that they're friends, and we'll send the eagle there.
Oh, also maybe include like a due date and like name the rendezvous point, basically, so that like
right. Quest expires
and this and that day, and there and there, basically.
Yeah, we'll tell them where to go and where to get there.
To actually get there.
Right.
Aragorn. I have not seen him in 6 months.
Where is Gandalf?
Okay. So, and that actually is a good question. How many, like, what do you want to put as that approximate date from now? Just, do you want to give them a week, 2 weeks? You also have to consider, you have to consider their travel, but you also have to consider that you don't have a lot of time. I mean, and
October 34th.
Right. Outstanding.
Yeah, I guess we say like as soon as possible. How long do we think it will take us to get there?
Depends on how fast you choose to try to go. If you want to, if you want to book it like at top speed, you might be able to, as you've proven before, make it up there maybe in about 3.5, 4 days. But you're going to be like, you'll be exhausted. Or if you take a little longer and just sort of push yourselves, you could probably do it in about a week. You could get up there.
Let's say like 2 weeks rather than months. Weeks rather than months.
Okay.
For them to get there, sort of as soon as they receive this letter, hopefully.
Okay, so we will say 2 weeks. Yeah, 11 years.
No, that's not what he said.
2 weeks.
He said Elven T1.
Elven T1. Well, I assumed that he was, he's probably gonna say, "What's up, Rob? How you doing, man?" You will see Rob tonight on the Air Vocalists, by the way. So
On Rob Revealed.
I will. I'll remember. Okay, so all right, so the eagle takes off and you take off as well. So your path then is going to be basically you want the eagle to go to the mountain hall and then presumably to summon his own people. You're going to head up directly to the north. Are you going to, when you get all the way up here-ish, Robar and company, are you going to want to, I say this with slight, hesitancy, try to cross the Anduin and talk to Black Tom and that whole crew, or do you want to just kind of keep going and
I never learned where Black Tom is. Where even is he?
West Upper Vales.
Is he West Upper Vales?
West Upper Vales, okay.
Yeah, he is. I think Black Tom. Robot thinks Black Tom's the kind of guy that doesn't answer a freaking letter summons. He's the kind of guy that expects you to show up if you need help. If he's to be my banner man sort of deal. So I think Robot will actually try and visit him because I suspect he wouldn't answer a summons by letter because they seemed pretty sort of independent. So I think I'll try and visit Black Tom. We have a rapport. Kind of. Yeah, so that's the plan there.
Okay, so then as I understand it, you're basically going to try to, as I zoom in here, you're basically going to try to head north and then cut over. It's like, look at this. It's just markers all over the place. It's ridiculous.
I feel like we're playing a really complicated football play.
I know, exactly. All right, you're going to cut left, right, boom, straight forward. Yeah, exactly. This is a WTF play. It just involves just straight up. So you're going to go up basically to through here, and then you'll pass over the Easterly Inn. Black Tom is over more or less here. So at that spot, you would presumably either cross over yourselves or have one of you cross over and zipping over, doing whatever, and then coming back. We'll talk about whether all of you go or whether just you go. But you want to cross over at that point and not earlier and then go north, yes? Is that I just want to make sure.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but also, isn't the Anduin relatively narrow and flat up there?
Yeah, comparatively, yeah.
Yeah.
So it could actually be him.
It doesn't make a
over
difference. Any body of water is unpassable for us.
Since Tawny is basically just making for his house, basically when he gets there, he's just going to gather up a bunch of wool and some waxed leather bags and start making some water wings for Robon.
Floaties, yes.
You guys know the Indigo Girls song? What's it called? Ghost? It has a line in it how the Mississippi is mighty, but it starts in Minnesota at a place that you could walk across with 5 steps down. That, but for the Anduin and the Vale of Gundabad, I guess.
Yeah, I dig it. Cool. Oh, and yes, we just got another pledge. Thank you. So we're up to 1924. Thank you, Kerflop. Thank you so much. That's good. Remember, folks, if we get to $2,000 during this stream, I will give these fine folks an inspiration.
Wait, did you say $2,000?
Yes.
Oh, as I'm looking at it in Canadian. And it's at 2,500.
Oh, right now, I wish it were in Canadian. Right now, we'd already be a goal if it were Canadian. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually had that experience because the Emberwind, the Nomnivore Games, is a Canadian company, and I was involved in that a little bit. And so I was watching. I'm like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, oh, wait. And I looked at the US dollar version. I'm like, it's still great. It's just not as overwhelming great as I was like, yeah. Oh. It was pretty funny. Yeah, so $76 to go. So hopefully we can continue to push that forward. But thank you very much, Kerflop. I really appreciate it. So, all right. You folks then begin to put this plan into motion to make your way north. As you head along, and I'm guessing, although correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not going to draw yet another path. As you're going north, I'm assuming that you're going to so to speak, hug the forest edge, more or less. I mean, not quite.
Oh no, the river. That would be way smarter, right?
Well, if you hug the river, you can do that. But if you hug the river, remember that you might miss. You'll actually be able to go through Stonyford and all that, but you might miss some of the people. For example, Woodland Hall, Woodman Town. You can.
No, but those are in the forest at the river, so that's why I'm thinking let's just go to the river and follow the river upwards.
Oh,
right?
you mean hugging the river in the woods?
Yeah, not the Underwind.
Well,
Oh.
I would like to point out, though, I'd like to show you something called the Heart of Mirkwood, which is right along that level. So,
Well, I figured on this side of the river it should be safe, right?
Wait, say that again. Say it again.
Like,
Inga.
I figured that on this side of the river it should be relatively safe, right?
Relatively, but you know, it's not. I mean, the river is a decent barrier, but there's a lot of things that can still fly over it. I mean, it's up to you. But to give you a clue, the sort of red coated things are considered pretty dangerous as areas.
I think it makes sense for the river and Ash to be on that side, and because I mean, Ash is also an actual wood elf, but right? I'm not forgetting this. Anyway,
you're correct. Yeah. She's of elven heritage. She might be half elven, but still, it would be wood elf. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just imagining that, like, if we're imagining a kind of moving party of 50 people that, and we're not doing a journey, but if we were, then I can imagine the two of them being in a kind of scout position to kind of stay on the easternmost flank of the party and ride ahead to those places.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. So then, but still though, having said that, since this is a pretty decent size, several, miles wide stretch, are you doing that in the Vales? The other thing I want to point out is that the journey will probably go faster as opposed to if you're trying to go directly through the forest. So do you go, along the East Anduin Vales, but then you sort of take a little side jaunt, so to speak, in to go deal with the Woodman town? Like, as you said, ride ahead and okay. All right, so if you're willing to do that, and you get to the Woodman Town and Woodland Hall, we don't need to RP this out, I don't think, but what I'm curious about is what you emphasize in your sort of asking for assistance from them, the river.
Woodland Hall is where Dindy is, isn't it?
No, he is in the Easterly Inn.
I always forget.
Yeah, Woodland Hall is where the people, and actually it's where, let me run down.
Robar abandoned you all.
Yes, right. That is actually where you sent, I believe, Fennis, and it's also where you sent I can't believe I can't find the note. The one that was accused of the murder that you...
I sent both of them to Roscobel.
Roderick, yes. Oderick.
Oderick and...
Oderick, you might have sent them to Roscobel.
I totally sent them to Roscobel.
In which case, I'm sorry I didn't have you interact with them. Sorry, my fault. But they might have been gone during that time. So
they were on a honeymoon.
They were. Yes, I actually think that is what we said. So okay, sorry. Nonetheless, you're still dealing. Okay, so Woodman Town is where you sent that, and Woodman Town is smaller than Roscobel, but it does have obviously some woodmen in it. And then of course the Woodland Hall is another one of the great halls: Mountain Hall, Woodland Hall, and the Hall of Roscobel that you just had the meeting in. So you can.
So what River would emphasize going there, I think, would be first who she is, where she comes from, and who she is, where she comes from, and the recent attacks on woodmen specifically, and the people who were raided and taken to the tower, and the fact that is the same power that is organizing in the north, and that we all as woodmen have a shared responsibility to defend against this, and to join in friendship with the people of the north to fight off this same evil that threatens us all.
Okay, make a persuasion check for me, please.
That is the wrong token for stone.
We got to do. That's right. We got to do a new stone token. Also, I can't seem to find Lilamon's token. I need to.
Seriously, can't find it.
Oh, thank you for the tier 1 sub gift, Kerflop. Thank you, and welcome, Marinda. Wow, Inga's really did not skip leg day.
19.
Okay. I would say that. Let me move in stone. There's stone. Yeah, I know exactly where is the horse. That's an excellent question. I need to go get the horse and make sure that I place the horse.
The most dangerous location possible.
Shut your mouth.
Into the
Terry's
heart
like,
of-
ah ha ha, no. You all are funny. No. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sharpening my bow and it went off in your face,
I
Tawny.
didn't mean to hit you through the back of the head. It was a total accident when that happened. Okay. Okay. Here we go. And paste. There's Lillimon. We're just going to put Lillimon.
Biggest pony in the land.
Kaiju pony.
What?
Kaiju pony. All right, we'll put Lillimon just up front, scouting out, always taking on the most dangerous territory. I'm just joking. Okay. So you head to the north. The first day or so is fairly uneventful, actually, and seems relatively peaceful by Wilderland standards. You don't really have anyone that encounters you, but there is a sense of anticipation about the land, is the way that I would describe it. It's almost as if places, you have these feelings sometimes, Robar, as you pass by, that a place where you might have expected an ambush is now devoid of ambushers, but not because they've decided to all go home, but because they're just sort of like, every place you see that could have been a potential attack, you now see as someone who's gone to join something else. And so it doesn't, it doesn't improve your mood, so to speak, as you go forward and think about all these people that are gathering. But you are pleased with the people that go with you. Leaving Woodman Town and Woodland Hall, the river's persuasive efforts are actually fairly effective, and your army grows again by another 30 from both towns put together, which is a decent number because there are fewer people, obviously, in the town and the hall, and they don't really have that many that they can spare. But that means that you're now, I think, at about 80 people as you continue to go north, mostly in good spirits. One of the things you note is that you can actually push them, and they never complain. They never sort of like, what is this garbage? They all do whatever you say without question.
I can imagine that River would also, there'd be a certain amount of kind of singing and stuff while on the march, and telling stories while paused, just kind of all of the benefits that a short rest and stuff can bring. In fact, I could, let me just double check this, because I'm pretty sure that I have failed to use this in the past because I couldn't renew the because we never had short rests. I think the river has a quality that allows her to inspire everyone. Let me just
A Song of Rest, maybe.
It was it's one of her let's see. Warden's Gift. You can inspire others through stirring words, through music, or by your presence alone. So but it doesn't say on this page whether that's using up one of the Warden's Gift die or not, or if it's just something that you do once in a while. But
I think if it is an extension of the Warden's Gift, then I would say it probably would be using it, but it would be using it in a much more effective way, right? Like there's no harm in using it for that.
Right.
And actually that may have a mechanical benefit, because when we get up there, I won't spoil it, but there's going to be a little bit of tactical planning involved with this in terms of where you send what. So it's mass battle rules, Adventures of Middle-earth style. Okay, so yes, that is something which is helpful to them, and there is a fair bit of singing, and of course for the first time, River, you have the experience of actually having a bunch of people that you don't have to teach the songs first. They all know them and they're kind of singing along with you. And Kerflop has inspired the River, so the River is now inspired
to inspire others.
for when
Hooray!
she needs it.
So inspired.
Outstanding. So as she's heading north, thank you, Kerflop, for that. So these people actually join on board. I'm curious about, and as you're doing this, the several days pass this way, then things begin to get a little quieter and more introspective, you might say, as... No, I don't want to do that. More introspective as the party continues to press forward with the army behind them. And on the third day, I would say, maybe halfway through the third day, you find yourself passing by the village of Stonyford. I'm curious if you detour there, or if you just keep heading north, or not.
Inga is very, very much against going to Stonyford because she hates that place like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, you're not obligated to in any way.
I don't think they had any like fighting folk.
They had like 5 people living there or something.
Yeah,
And
I think
2 moved away, so
yeah, and
the other 3 died, so
I think Robar is like incredibly uncomfortable with the idea of being the leader of these people and being looked to like make decisions because he is such a loner and he doesn't even work. He has, his sort of arc is that he hasn't worked well as a team a lot of the time, so he's trying to work well as a team, and now there's a lot of responsibility on him. So I think he takes a long time to make the decision, if it's one that he has to make, and then says no.
Can you remind me, Stonyford, I remember was extremely depressing, but I'm trying to remember the particulars of it, besides that we got Oderic and is it Brunhild out of there?
Broken tower there, I remember.
Yeah,
Right,
there's a broken tower. They're all extremely shy of outsiders and so on.
basically everybody there was an asshole.
I think what River would propose doing would be to not ask them to join, but she would volunteer to veer off and bring a gift of some kind to say, we are doing this thing. We are marching north because of this danger that is facing all of us in the Vales, and that includes you. So this we're passing this way just as a warning and to let you know that this evil is abroad. And here's a gift of honey cakes and cheese or something like that if Tawny has any to.
Tawny has honey cakes. He just is more inclined to put horse manure in the box.
Anyway, I mean, there were some I think there were good people there. They weren't all terrible. Yeah.
There were 2, and they're both gone now.
Yeah.
No, the leader lady was good, I thought, right? Like the lady who actually
eventually, yes, but she spent too much time listening to Grandpa let's not bruise our pride McPants. Just
basically River is like, well, like I say, not saying they should join us, just saying we could extend.
Well, I think the River's right.
Towards people who are suffering, yeah.
But at least let people know of our cause. Perhaps the word will spread from Stonyford and more will come to help us. We've got nothing to lose.
So, question, River, are you going to take this message yourself, this gift?
Yeah, she's known there, and she knows that they are horrible to strangers.
So, as you sort of, so you break off from the main party, the main group, while the rest of them continue to press north, and you ride northwest towards Stonyford. As you close in on the sort of burned out tower and the stuff that you remember from before, Ash says on her horse beside you, she says, "There's a pleasant place."
Yes, it's just as kind and friendly as it looks, to be honest.
And she says, "Oh, sorry."
I was saying, but besides trying to be lights in the darkness as much as possible, I think it's important to not entirely leave people vulnerable to the kind of shadow that we see creeping. And being isolated and being as sad and alone as these people seem to be, whether by their own choice or not, it seems like a breeding ground for the sorts of things that we're going to fight.
And she says, in my experience, most people are sad and lonely because they don't stand up for themselves and fight when they need to.
Be as that may, not everyone has the same native fighting ability, I don't think.
They can have a spirit like you do, like we do.
Could you really judge people for being in, I don't know. This is what it is. I've observed in the past that 2 people could suffer the same experience and have 2 very different views on what happened. Either they can suffer the pain and go forward in life thinking that everyone should have to endure the pain that they endured, or they can go forward in life trying to make sure that no one ever has to endure the pain that they endured from the same injury. And knowing that, I'm hard put to judge people for how they react to that kind of isolation. People are different, and all we can do is try to be kind to everyone in the same way.
And she sighs deeply and she says, yes, people are different. And she says, so are you. And then she kind of spurs her horse forward and then says over her shoulder, which isn't a bad thing. And kind of keeps going, straight. Okay, so again, I won't go through, for the interest of trying to move forward, I'm not going to go through a big RP thing in there. You find sort of similar reactions to what you had at Stonyford previously, although there is sort of the old man, the McHonor, etc. McMance. But there's also, you may remember, the sort of crazy guy, basically, the one who was there, who is now apparently doesn't even leave his hut. He just sort of stays in his house, basically. And so the leader that you previously met spends much of her time there as well. But she does come out for long enough to be able to talk to you and thanks you for the warning, and sort of is like, thank you for the gift and all that, and then is like, expectantly waits almost for you, not asking you to leave, but does not seem like she's going to be able to provide much else at the moment. Although on your way out of the village, it's possible that you might notice her sort of looking thoughtfully for a while at the two of you, Ash and the river, as you sort of depart, before sort of putting a hand on her chin before turning and going back into her father's house. Okay. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is making their way there, and I would say that you probably catch up with them again right about at the old ford. And here is where you have the guards, the Bjornen guards, Tani, which at this point, now you've been hugging the eastern edge of the forest. At this point, I'm assuming you're to be crossing over to the middle of that area because you're going to want to go north where Bjorn's house is.
Yeah.
So,
the plan was to go to the ford and then north.
That's what I figured. So when you get up to the fort, the old fort. I bet they wish there was a fort. The old ford. When you get up to the old ford, the guards are there and they hail you as you sort of approach Tani and, well met, Tani Bear. And you can see a few of them sort of stride forth to meet you. One of them you recognize as having been from the ford before. You might remember the two others were killed in the attack upon Bjorn previously, and so they've been replaced by two new Bjornings that you're not as familiar with. You might have seen them around, but you don't really know who they are.
Hail, Kevin. Kevin.
His name is Coniford is his name.
Oh, so close.
Coniford?
Yeah, Coniford.
It just sounds like someone who had a really bad encounter with a tree.
Yeah, Coniford. He's been Coniford.
It's Connie
No,
Ford,
his
not
name is
Coniford.
Connie.
You've been Coniford. It's not.
His friends call him Connie, right?
Yeah, friends call him Pine-coned. All right.
His father wanted to call him Timber, but he didn't listen.
Oh man. And so yes, so that's
Sailing
the one you
brother
recognize.
named Boom, who also
No.
didn't listen.
He used to have an older brother called Timber, but like during a woodcutting accident, when somebody yelled Timber, instead of running away, getting out of the way, he came running and was hit by a tree.
And when he realized it was falling, like an idiot, he just ran in a straight line while the tree was falling directly at him. So yes, hail and well met.
We're like, all right.
What are we doing?
Sudden backstory for the second stuff.
This is exactly how Tolkien did it.
Coniford is just standing there with a 1,000-yard stare, just remembering his fallen brother. Backstory we'll never know.
Brother, the tree that fell, or his brother who was like hit by the tree.
So Coniford walks forth bearing the pine tree that he wields over his back, like having defeated it. And he says, what make you this way?
We head north to assist our good friend and brother in arms, Kevin. No. And just Rabar. I'm almost saying Aragorn. I'm like,
I'm not giving you that name, bro.
that is not his name.
Still not Aragorn. Stop trying to say that, Robar. There's a growing army massing in the north. We make for that location to, in hopes, stop it and pick up some fellow troops along the way.
And he nods and he says, "Certainly you're well deserving of it. Bjorn has been ranging ever further afield to gather more information. This thing that everyone feels, this shadow, has been growing on all of us, and he has been searching and sending out others of us to seek information where we can. Of course, we've felt as if we're more or less on our own, although there has been a lot of activity with the Eagles of late." And so he says, "If you will, we've been sworn to stay by the ford, but you will probably find many of us as you go, not in their usual places. You could, I imagine, gather them to you. I expect Bjorn would allow it, although of course he has the final say."
We have spent a goodly portion of our time alone, isolated, and I feel that time may be coming to an end, at least for a short while.
And he nods and he says, "It would be good if our isolation did come to a close. I cannot see how it helps us to fight against armies when we stand as individuals and look suspiciously at others. But ever it was our fate, it seems, to tend our own farms and not look to those of others. Perhaps it may change."
These past months and perhaps years now, like 2 years we've been together.
Yeah.
In some brief years that I have traveled with these people, I can definitely see where there is truth to that.
And he nods and he says, "Indeed. Then go swiftly as you may. We will send on word if anything else comes here, but so far the ford here has been quiet over the last few weeks at any rate."
And know that the eagles are also assisting us, so try not to shoot them too much. And if you see them near my stead, know that I told one of them that he could have 1 or 2 of my sheep. So
They nod and they say, "Very well," Coniford says, and then turns, bearing his pine tree, and returns to
This is bringing to mind a Bugs Bunny cartoon with the baseball game where he's got that huge.
Yeah. Oh god. There was one Bugs Bunny cartoon which is, I still remember, it was called The Rabbit of Seville, and they basically do this send off of the Barber of Seville.
Oh
and
yes.
There's the second where there's that right, and it's just like him and Elmer Fudd, and Bugs Bunny is like bringing like a pop gun, and then Elmer Fudd brings in a shotgun, and then he brings a cannon, and then a tank, and something about that as a kid, just I couldn't breathe. It was so funny to me when I was watching that. I don't know why. I always remember that, just like, oh my god.
I always associate that song with spinning plates and Circus of the Stars. So yeah.
Ah, there you go. So, all right. So you depart and set off again to the north, and within the next day or so, you notice, I would say, probably the morning of the, let us say, the 4th day. You see in the actually, everybody make a perception check for me on the morning of the 4th day.
God, we have to roll in this game.
Morning of the 4th day. Look to the
dice.
Whatever's around there.
The 20 rises.
Perception, yes.
16.
What time of day is it?
19.
It would be early morning. Would be what I
Okay,
would
so
say.
not nighttime then.
No.
Okay, because I have advantage on all perception checks at night.
Yeah. No. This is
But
during the
anyway.
day.
Oh, and Robar and Inge have
Natural one.
a bonus on perception in the wilderness.
Yeah, you're in.
Advantage or just bonus?
Bonus, it says. Wait, I have it written down.
I think you're right. It's bonus, but I just want to make sure.
It's
And that
not
was-
advantage, but like I think it was double bonus is what we said.
Oh,
Yeah,
double
double proficiency,
proficiency.
so an extra.
Like 6 plus 6 instead of plus 3, so it's 20.
Yeah, 22 for you, 19 for me.
Okay, so both, and that's an 18, River?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So all three of you, all three of you see in the distance, like in the blue sky, the approaching, a flying form approaching, which as it gets larger is very clearly an eagle. Tani, you are like, you know.
Well, what Tawny is doing, because the
Yeah, what is
Vale's
Tawny
basically
doing?
grassland, right?
Mhm, right.
So what he's doing is he's got like a small scythe, and he's like cutting pieces of grass and twisting them into rope. He's basically making rope while he's walking, just to keep his hands busy.
Okay.
So he's looking at the ground when this happens.
Like
he's
more
just,
grass and.
yeah. Just more twisted this
So all of a
way.
sudden you feel like, you know, like something buzzes you overhead. You're like, ah, crap. No, I'm just kidding. But the eagle settles, and basically it is the same eagle. Looks rather tired, actually.
Kevin!
And holds out, it's not Kevin.
It's Kevin the Eagle.
Eventually you'll meet Kevin, and that will be an interesting day.
Now we'll have no
My
idea who he is.
eagle.
He's the nemesis.
And holds out to Robar a wooden scroll case. It's the same as the one that you sent.
Hey, old friend. I take it.
And the eagle
open it up.
nods, and the eagle says, I have traveled far in these lands and will travel farther before I may return to my eyrie. But I bring this message from Mountain Hall. There are others who have heard of your cause, and whether they will come to your aid or not, I cannot say. But I have done what I can. I also, and he sort of kind of looks, I mean, an eagle doesn't have the same kind of facial expressions, but he sort of blinks and almost looks like he's turning away. I have seen smoke rising to the north. There is some great battle going there. It is on not the east, but the western side of the Anduin. What it is I cannot say, but I thought I would tell you now, before I went further.
Can you say how far north this the smoke hails from?
Perhaps 6 hours to the north as I would fly. Not that far from our eyries, perhaps. But for you, actually, no, I take that back. It would be far from the eyries. Never mind that part. Farther than that, they said perhaps a day's flight as I would fly. For you, you are still perhaps 2, maybe 3 days away, unless you were to hasten your pace further. But it is on the western side. There are also very faint sounds, but I cannot make them out. But they do not sound pleasant.
Could it be Vigland?
And the eagle sort of raises its head and looks at you, kind of tilting its head slightly, and says, I cannot say, but it is not a campfire nor a bonfire. Something like this is only made by many people and much conflict.
Thank you for bringing this word to us. I don't know how to repay you, but I appreciate it.
And he nods and he says, May the wind bear you beneath your wings until we meet again. And he kind of nods slowly and then turns and he says, I fly now to my people. Look for the eagles. You who go on the ground may be as slow as you wish, but we will come when we are needed. And he takes off, and again, you were impressed. Like, he perhaps doesn't disappear quite as quickly this time, but basically if you do kind of a quick mental calculation, it means that he's probably been flying most of these days, like, you know, with very little break. So this is a really impressive act, frankly, of flight. And he takes off in that direction, and you're left holding the scroll case. Before you go on, let me just say thank you to whoever pledged. We're now up to 1965, so this is great. Let's keep this up. And thank you again to Amal for posting the tweet. Please retweet that, folks. Please go out and retweet these things. As Trent said, the more that we all do that, or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, the more that you can do that, the more it makes a real benefit. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So you're holding the scroll case, Robar.
I read it.
You open open the scroll case, and there is a rolled up, parchment within it. And when you open the parchment, it is written in a strong kind of almost like, I don't want to say all caps, but like a very strong hand, very sort of like to the purpose.
Wingdings, yes.
I'm sorry?
Wingdings.
Yes, exactly, wingdings. And it is, look for us, we will come, Hardfast.
There's a look of relief which washes over Rubar's face. Oh, thank. They're coming. They're going to join us.
Oh, remind me who Hardfast is again?
Chief of Mount Null.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, that's what I thought. We blew that horn altogether.
Yep, that's right.
That's right. So that's something at least. But this smoke is something else. And I suspect it's nothing good. And remind me where we are on the map at this point. We are just north of Streeton.
You're just about, I would say you're maybe only like an hour ride from Bjorn's house. And so you're probably still 2.5, 3 days, maybe normal ride to the area that you were planning to go.
So this is unexpected.
Is it unexpected?
If this is Vigland, I was expecting him to be farther north, but he's moved faster than I expected.
Huh. I thought not in character. Just the flames are coming from like this part, right? Like the.
Not that far north, no.
Okay.
They're probably. I mean, now you don't know. This is just based on what the eagle told you, but your guesstimate would be like here-ish, somewhere.
Okay.
Which is kind of around. I mean, that's kind of your wheelhouse, and that's frankly where. I mean, again, that's sort of in the Black Tom / your ancestral home / areas. Rubar.
And is that our ultimate destination?
Your plan? Well, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to find out from Robar, but Vigland himself was found over here, basically towards the eastern eaves, essentially.
So he's been on the.
Okay. Yeah, he's just moving. Okay, yeah. That's what we're thinking at this point. Okay, so I'll wind it back a little bit.
So just like what we're expecting to basically turn up and join a battle, right?
Yeah, and join a battle. Yeah, and it seems like the battle's sort of taken place without us at this point, right? Because we were maybe speaking of showing up and like attacking them, but it seems like they're raiding or making trouble. So, which may play in our favor if they don't know that we're coming yet and they're already fighting. We may be able to outmaneuver them.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter has just pointed out that if that's where the fire's coming from, that maybe your sister is with them because she's probably caught up in the action. So she thinks that you might want to head up that way.
Mm-hmm.
That was her contribution.
I like that.
And that's pretty close, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At this point, do you think it still makes sense to send word to the Elven King and to Erebor?
Maybe too late at this point, but the movies are topping anything. Is that maybe they might show up at the last minute?
Nothing is ever too late.
Some ancient elven portal that nobody remembers about.
Right. Send word nonetheless. We have nothing to lose.
Well, I guess in that case, it would have made the most sense to send people ahead, like extra fast people on horses, or like I mean, like in that group of people that we helped free. Like there must be other elves, right? So
I was just actually going to say.
There are other wood elves, and we are probably sending 1 or 2 of them.
And send it right, yeah.
Because the fastest of those among you are probably the escaped slaves. So they probably are the ones.
Yeah.
And in fact, Ash even sort of when she hears you discussing this says. We can send 2 of ours. They'll get there whatever information that you need. And she calls aside one who is a human, actually, and then one who is also an elf, and speaks to her quietly. And River, you just pick up a little bit of sort of what sounds like Elvish, or, definitely is being spoken to them. And they nod and jump on their horses and then are, off as they zip away. And Ash turns back and she says, "We'll get the information as soon as we can. Whether the Elven King and the rest of them respond." She shakes her head and she says, "I had hoped that they might be willing to be the ones who freed me." And she sort of shrugs a bit and turns away.
There's still hope.
Yeah,
River's
good.
quite stricken by this for a second, but and sort of anyone looking at her can see like if there is a sort of gauge visualization of her respect for like unmet elven parties, it is like steeply dropped as that. Yeah.
We have to move swiftly to help whoever's being attacked right now. It might just be Vigland's full forces. It might be a smaller contingent that he sent out on raids, but we need to have an idea of their numbers before we commit our forces. It could be a trap.
Should we be prepared to split our force and try to go both east and west around whatever is happening? I'm not saying that we should begin this from now, but we should at least designate who will be going to which if that's what our plan is going to be eventually.
I agree. I like outmaneuvering them while they're unfocused. And if there's one thing in our favor is that Vigland and his raiders are just that jumped up mercenaries who are in it for bloodshed and plunder and may not have as tactical a battlefield minds as us. So I think, yes, split our forces. They might not expect it. And if we can cut the head off of this particular snake, I think that will that might break their army totally. About their king, their false king, they may bow to a new one. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. He looks physically sick.
Lean into it.
Yeah, River like claps him on the shoulder and reassuringly as best she can, but also and says, "I believe you're up to it." But it occurs to me that maybe we should also be thinking, I don't know if this is premature, but what kind of aftermath you're contemplating if we do actually break this army and we suddenly have dozens of prisoners to think about. It might be thinking about what you're planning on doing with them.
That's the part that I fear the most.
I don't know what the communities look like in the north. I don't know. These people have come from all over, and I don't know if they'll scatter like roaches burrowing back into their. I can't extend it.
I'm stuck in my own.
Where roaches live. Roach motel.
You know what I mean.
It's called a harborage. The place where roaches live is called a harborage.
That's so pretty.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to live in a harborage.
No, you don't. It's
no.
That sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. The River will say these folk. I think they follow the leaders that they see as strong. Like that's why they follow Vigland in the first place. But they've forgotten that the fields can be sown. That they can live. Without the need for plunder and raid, we can give them land. There's plenty of it. For those that are willing to live peacefully, I see no need for any more bloodshed than there already has been with Vigland. And if we can at least bring some kind of peace, perhaps we can pull this off without having to slaughter everyone. That is an option, though. Slaughtering everyone is Sonic Arts.
Wait, slaughtering everyone is Sonic Arts?
No, it's on the cards. It's on the cards.
Sorry. What? Sonic
It
Arts?
might also be Sonic Arts.
Sonic Arts.
With, like, blades of sound. Very kung fu
you guys were like thinking about like actual Sonic. I was like thinking of Sonic the Hedgehog and just like that image going through my head of like all the terrible Sonic fan art or DeviantArt. So
from behind you hear someone yelling,
that.
"At least you know what Conifer means!" Like yelling at you.
Fair play.
Okay. So So sorry, Terry, you wanted to say? Yeah.
Yeah, like I already want to say that earlier. Could I make a retroactive change to my like addendum to the letter to Erebor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like basically because I remembered that Hardfast had asked Inge to give a message there anyway.
Yes.
So basically, she's gonna also mention that, like, and afterwards, if like the reinforcements that they're sending might be, if they could also like travel to the High Pass after, to Woodland Hall after that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Robar will sort of outline a plan to, try and kill Vigland is our like main target. If we can get rid of him, we have a chance to convince his army to give up peacefully. It might take a little while, but if they know he's dead, that'll certainly take the wind out of their sails. And then I suppose the plan would be to rule there. But that might mean an end to certain things.
Tawny holds up a small length of twine, probably about a foot long, and holds it out to Robar.
This is so you can tie your hair back if you feel you're going to throw up.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna go do that right now. Just slowly, calmly vomit in the corner. Feel better now.
Okay. So you set off again. Now, two places we have to talk about first. One, Bjorn's house. Tani, you actually don't even have to go to Bjorn's house because you actually find, as you're, closing in sort of over the top of them, that you're sort of, riding up, and you see that coming up to you, striding up the hill, with several Bjornings behind him, is Bjorn himself. And
Tawny tries not to get completely Twitter-pated over it. No, Tawny wouldn't do that. I would, but never mind. Go
Same.
on. Character player knowledge. Okay. So you, so he sort of strides up the hill and then stops, and says, "Well, I see you've made your way there and back again, as it were." And he sort of looks behind him at the two Bjornings, and he says, "All right, you know what to do." And the Bjornings kind of head off in different directions. And Bjorn comes up and sort of nods his head at all of you and says to you, Tani, "I've heard word that there's something going on to the north. And I've also heard that there's something you were all planning to do about it."
It's very difficult to surprise you with information when you keep getting it before we get here.
And he grins and he says, "It's part that comes with the territory, I suppose. Consider it the curse of a curious and paranoid mind. But no, I've gathered information, but know nothing specific. Do you know what this situation is, then?"
It's very likely that we do. Young, or perhaps not so young, Master Robar here has family up in that area who are facing up against would we call him a tyrant? Is that what we...
A petty.
He calls himself a tyrant by necessity, but
Wow.
So, bad man with many bad men.
Batman?
Bad man.
Batman!
England!
I'll get you, Batman.
Just your kapow appears
Such a
on
I was
punchy
just gonna
cat
say-
today. I'm so pleased it's not just me.
There's that whole meme of Batman slapping Robin and telling him something. I saw one yesterday of Batgirl slapping Batman, saying, "Stop slapping Robin!"
That's really funny.
Excellent.
Anyway, so Tawny goes through the whole process, because I'm just going to keep cracking up about that for a few minutes, of explaining everything we've told everybody else up to this point.
Okay. When he finishes that, Bjorn nods slowly and thoughtfully and then goes over to you, Robar, and he says, "I had heard word, of course, of the Staunton family before, But I did not know that any in your line still remained, at least remained beyond a willingness to reclaim it. It is possible, you know, that by revealing yourself and your purpose, that you have brought forth those who, before, did what they could to destroy the Staunton name. I wonder if you are accepting of that.
Then they are my enemies, and always were. I just didn't know it. I'd rather know who they were.
And he looks back, he nods, and he looks back along the army, which is sort of all waiting. Now, you know, about over 110, 120 people or so. And he says, well, you've come a long way from sleeping in my hall on the floor, and now you lead an army. I wonder what that army will be like, and those who fight in it. And he kind of glances over at you, Tawny. And then he looks back and he says, it is good to see all of you. And if you would have some Bjornings by your side, I will send them. I cannot go myself, for I have other business off to the west that I've been told I must do, and specifically my people that are in trouble. There is some darkness or evil about all of this. This is not happening by accident. I will try to attend to it and return when I can, but I can make no promises. But I have sent my people elsewhere to find as many as they can to come rally to your cause. When you get to the house, you will see that there are 30 of us waiting, and there will be more that I will try to send along as soon as may be.
We thank you, and kindly accept your offer of aid.
River says, you say we've come a long way from sleeping on your floor, and yet I dare say any of us, all of us, look forward to a day when we might do that again.
He smiles and says, as would I. I would welcome to hear some of your songs, and of Tani's honey cakes for that matter. And it's been a while since I've seen someone doing some axe wielding, as I've noticed before, and he smiles at you, Inga. And he says, besides, my pony's Miss Lillimon. And he looks back and he says, I don't know all in your party, and his eyes kind of flicker over Ash, who is kind of looking at him, you know, just kind of calmly. And he says, of these new companions of yours. But if you have them with you, that is enough to recommend them to me. I've never wanted to be a king over anyone, a ruler over anyone. But when it was thrust upon me, I did the best I could. You may find yourselves in the same positions. When the time comes to it, remember that you will never make anyone happy. All you can do is make most of them reasonably, grudgingly content. And he kind of, you can't tell whether he's joking or not, Robar, because he kind of semi-grins, but you're not 100% sure, and you're sort of like, yeah.
Okay, Tawny can't tell either yet.
Yeah, exactly. And so he says, but no time for feelings of sadness. This is a time where you march off to the righteous fight. Do it happily, proudly. And if I can, I will join when I may. And he sort of nods and, sort of goes to each of the horses, who of course are all nuzzling up to him. And he kind of pats them all very gently, on the, just sort of like strokes their manes in each case. And then says, good fortune to you, friends. I will see you soon. And sort of turns and strides off. And sure enough, when you get up to Bjorn's house, you see that there are indeed 30 Bjornings. And, so far, Robar, you've been getting, like, the woodmen are great, and you've been adding these people, and you're like, and then these dudes show up, and they're, like, big, solid, like, they look like they're sort of walls by themselves. And, they just, so the one of them strides up and says, where do you want us?
Where don't I? In the
Where do you want to? No, we have to stop making too off-color jokes. Let's remember the audience.
In the
Yes.
front, in the vanguard. The vanguard is the word.
And they nod and take their place. You notice that the woodmen sort of, some of them, they all are like, they obviously have seen Bjornings before, but as they see them, they're sort of like, they kind of shift back, kind of like, good, like, and then there's you guys who are there. And you stride forward. Now, one last person we need to ask about is you, on the fifth day, you find yourself closing in on a very familiar place. Music coming from it. The sound of happy chatting, perhaps dancing. It is the
happy chatting.
Easterly Inn.
Yay!
Do you go into this inn or do you pass it?
Well, first of all, Inge's friend is here. What was his name again? I have it written down. I always write everything down.
You probably mean the boy, right?
No, Baronold.
Oh, yes.
The gatekeeper.
Yes, that's right. He's not here yet.
Yeah, but she suspects that he might already be here. So.
I see. Okay. Yes. Quite possible.
They do have good food here. Like, let's not forget about that.
We are like 100 people at this point, right?
120 or so, 125.
Should we have like called ahead to make a reservation, or?
Well, I'm assuming we are making like camp not too far from the inn.
Yeah, of course. One thing I want to mention before we decide whether or not to go in is that one of the jobs that River is kind of taking upon herself with this group as it's growing is to kind of make sure to introduce everyone who joins to everyone else and kind of make sure that it's not just groups of individual people, but that everyone is getting to know everyone else during this journey and kind of getting acquainted as well with their strengths and different expertises so that they can be sharing them.
So they know how to synergize in battle.
Exactly.
I'm just imagining like River like basically putting up like the teacher of like a new class at the beginning of a school year, and then like you play all these like games to get to know each other. Like everybody say their name and what they like to do.
What's your favorite book and a weird fact about yourself? Or
I had the image of doing of having one of the dwarven slave doing trust falls with one of the Bjornings. Like the Bjornings
My God. I just figure River is taking it upon herself to be like the social adhesive factor in this, and it's nothing like a classroom. It's much more like a kind of fluid genius of like, oh, you've done this, you should probably talk to this person and stuff like that, and kind of bringing various people together so that by the time the 5 days are over, they all know each other and well enough to fight, to have each other's backs, basically, as well as synergize and stuff like that.
And actually, a lot of them actually consult all of you, including different things about combat and aspects of them. Like a few of the woodmen talk to you, Inga, about proper axe use in combat because they've used it a little bit, but not against some of the creatures, some of the hardened warriors you might be fighting. Some of them talk to you a little bit, Robar, about sort of sword play and about where to position themselves defensively. Obviously, Tani, some of the Bjornings sort of chat with you and the woodmen. Like the woodmen and the Bjornings have a kind of mutual respect, but there's also like a slight distance, a kind of a not certain, and so some of that gets broken down. And actually, and the River, you're sort of kind of masterminding all of that. And as I do want to mention that. As you were sort of passing by, let us say the Easterly Inn, there is a moment where you are stopped where what you've just described to me is going to be helpful. So I'll explain that in just a second. So you sort of stop at the edge of the hill looking down as this internal debate is going on about whether we go down or not. And then you hear a very familiar voice saying, "My friends! My dear friends, it is so good to see all of you." And you see sort of running up the hill with a flood of people behind him, as if he was leading this thing that's just sort of running up the hill. Now, these people running up the hill, there are certainly a number of hobbits, but there are all halflings, but there are no hobbits. It's a number of hobbits, but there are also you notice perhaps a dwarf or two in their number, several humans as well, and they all sort of surge up the hill. There's a lot of laughter and smiling and happiness, and you notice that they're all carrying stuff, and you don't exactly know what they're carrying. And he gets to the top.
I'll be in Mirkwood, excuse me.
Yeah. So he gets to the top and he says, "It is a great pleasure to see all of you. As I knew, my close personal friends had explained to me that they would be returning here. It's amazing how we met in the first place, you know." And so he looks like he's about to sort of go off on this discussion. And then you see two people sort of step forward in front of him, kind of clearing their throats. He says, "Oh, yes, well." And this is Rodri and Dando Brandybuck, who are the two sons. And
are they all grown up?
They're not all grown up, but they're a lot. Remember, you haven't seen them for a couple
How
years.
much
So
can they grow up?
but their faces are more
They
mature.
grew out.
Yeah, they grew out. Their faces are more mature, clearly, and they look almost sort of more mature in their mannerisms than the ones that were just kind of running around on their own a couple years down the line. And they kind of clear their throat and say, it's good to see all of you. We heard, I mean, that is, Rodri heard that there were some people coming our way, and Rodri sort of looks around nervously. And so we talked to our mother, and also we talked to, and the Dodie says, and to your father, and to our father. He was also, we talked to him, and we said that we needed to help as much as we could. So we brought these things. And so you see now the people behind them are all bearing these things that I mentioned, and they seem to be these crates of something. And they set them down, and as you sort of pull back, well, actually, I should ask, do you open the crates? I don't want to assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the crates seem to bear two things. One of them is what looks like lots of fresh loaves of bread and what looks like smoked cheeses and things like that, that basically look as if they are designed for travel. And the crates actually are not all that heavy. It seems like the bread is very light, and even the cheeses themselves seem to be somewhat light. You can see there's almost like Swiss cheese-ish. There's like holes in them, and it seems like it's not very heavy. And these things are apparently supplies for the army. And you can, as you sort of look back over the hungry crew, Robar, especially the woodmen, they seem to be like, oh, like they're looking forward at the bread. There are also a number of water skins in one of that crate that seem to be filled with various waters, which they start distributing to the various people. So they each have a water skin, basically refilling their water skins. And then the other crate, as they open it, one of the Bjornings actually opens it and looks back at Tani, at you, and raises an eyebrow and then shrugs, and they are arrows. Many, many arrows, but very finely made, as if they are, and you doubt very much this is anything the Easterly Inn could have done. And Dodie says, yes, that was a little addition of my own. I spoke to a few friends of mine who happen to know the elves, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of them. I'm personal friends with the Elven King, I've had a chance to speak to him on many occasions before this, but so I spoke to them and said that we might need something greater, and so I used my contacts to... So one of the sons, Dando, says, yes, Dad, yes. We made arrows, or not us, the elves did. These are elven arrows that are brought to you, and they are supposedly will not miss easily. At least that's what they told us.
We could try them out now.
You can see, Robar, that there's actually, you can see, and Dodie's like, yes, yeah, and he sort of has this weird, like...
Anyone got an apple?
And
She just brought us all
just one out, because Inge always has like a next for always carries treats for Lilleman, so of course she has an apple. So.
Yes.
Enjoying himself for the first time.
and Dodie like takes 2 steps back. He's like, yes, well, this is so, hopefully this will be of use to you, and remember that my doors are always open to you whenever you come back this way. Goodbye. And he sort of turns around and like walks very swiftly, trying to not look like he's running down the hill. And Rodri and Dando sort of look after him for a moment and then look back and say, well, the doors will be open, but these arrows are, well, they say that they're good ones. There's not many. We only had here 100, but maybe that will be something.
That's a lot, actually. Thank you, boys.
It'd be a lot. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank
so,
you.
assuming you distribute the arrows, the archers among your crew, among some of the woodmen, others are all like, it's like they have the rest of their arrows, and then they're like, and then the arrow plus. They're very important.
Magic item.
Your arrows are like,
Yeah, exactly. These ones are like, whoo. And that's one of the other striking things about this is that they're light. As you're handing them over at one point, accidentally someone trips and you see they kind of bend the arrow and you kind of wince because normally you'd see it doesn't break. It actually just bends and then comes back to true. And you're like, well, so yeah, light and strong. So you hand these out and then Rodri and Dando say, we really wanted to come with you. And Dando says, yeah, but Ma said no, and we would never be allowed to return ever, and that would be unfortunate. So, but we did this, and we'll try to tell all of our friends to come help. Really?
Oh, that's so nice of you.
That's so lovely. And River kind of like, get down on like she'll crouch down to their height, basically.
So you lay down on the floor flat?
She's not that tall. But she crouches down and sincerely looks at both of them and says, thank you so much for this. And remember that for every person out in the field, we need people who mind hearths and stay home and make something for an army to return to afterwards. So this help is wonderful, but you staying with your mother is going to be even more helpful in the long run.
And they both nod. Rodri says, oh, well, actually my ma has us help around the inn quite a bit now. Yeah, we try to help as much as we can. And then Rodri says, just please do the best you can. Dad won't tell us much, but I hear him sometimes talking to Mom when he doesn't think we're listening. And they're a little worried. So, please help if you can.
We'll do our best to.
No.
And they sort of nod at you and smile and step back. And you are off on your way. And
there is a price for our assistance.
Exactly. You
Kill
will pay
your
for
father.
Yeah, go ahead, Inga.
I'm assuming we are staying here for the night and then like the next morning set up.
It's up to you.
Like, I don't know what time we arrived here. Like, I'm assuming we made camp here for the night.
It's early evening. It depends on whether you want to push further. I mean, like, that's kind of on you and Robar.
Okay,
They're the whole
we
party.
are-
I mean.
If it's not time for that, then we are just moving. Also, like, checks if a friend is here, but like he's not. So
Yeah, he's not. They say he has not arrived yet.
So
I would say let's make our way to the river, make camp along its banks, and cross when we're fresh in the morning.
I agree.
Okay, when you get to the banks of the river, and you basically head northwest, so you end up kind of here, essentially, so right up about there, and you make camp. There is a shout from the lookouts calling for you, Robar, and Tani, and Inga, and the river. And they call, to the front! To the front! They call.
I run up.
Go.
And they point wordlessly over the Anduin to the northwest. And coming from here, you can see the flickering of flame against the night sky. And this, even in the moonlight that is there, this sort of large spiral of smoke. And in the far distance, you can just make out the sound of clashing of what sounds like metal on metal, of the just faintest shouts and screams. And Ash puts her hand on your shoulder, River, as you're all looking over the actual river, the Anduin, that way, and says, well, wars come to us, one way or the other. And that's where I think we will put an end to the session. So,
well, as endings go, it's better than and then the killing begins. So let's thank goodness for small mercies. Yeah,
Killing is already in motion.
Yeah.
This is. I actually had a lot of fun with this. Started seeing. I really love the idea of everyone gathering all the people together and like reassembling. It's really cool.
Yes.
So I'm going to let the folks go after they say their quick goodbyes, although quickly I will show this. This is the last commission of the day. So,
more again to your right. There we go. Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
up a little bit. Up, and more to your right. Perfect. Yes. Just step over.
But she wants to go there.
I did it! You did it! Oh!
Try number 1. Trying to get across with a rope. Try number 2. Building a bridge. 1 hour later. Going to build a boat, but the river says, just step over it. Okay. 10 minutes later, I did it!
Aww! That's so great! Well done!
Man alive.
I'm always control.
I love that you can have basically an in-house like live illustrator
Right?
for
I know.
for the stream. This is really great.
It's very exciting. She's saying she likes that you can have like an in-house illustrator, like as stuff is going on. It's a little bit like what what Terry and I have when we do the game book illustrations, except that my daughter's right here, so I actually get to see the physical. But anyway, this was a lot of fun, and I know we ran a little bit over, but I wanted to make sure we got to that section. It sets up for a really awesome, I imagine the whole party's gonna be thinking about tactics, because we're gonna be here next week, actually, I believe, for the next session, and that will be a session where we get to actually see how this all goes, and if all goes well, then end the fellowship phase and head into the last of the 2 adventures of Wilderland. But before we get there, I want to thank again Mal and congratulate you again on the successful defense of the proposal. You are now ABD, so congratulations. So how'd you feel about today? Where will the fine folks see you next on the interwebs, etc.?
I super loved today. I loved it. It was great. It was. I as much as I really enjoy somewhat in the aftermath, but the tense, pulse pounding, die rolling,
which you might get a little bit of
stuff. I do love it. I also get very tense and stressed out by it. But in this case, it's just lovely to have a session that has as much like kind of talking and figuring ourselves and what we're doing out in it too. And I just really, really loved that. And enjoyed getting to like kind of retrace our walk through memory lane kind of thing, and just kind of we did help all these people. That's kind of cool, because there was a moment like ages ago in Mountain Hall where we were kind of figuring out all the stuff we'd committed to and all the stuff that we had to do, right? And it was like, right, Robar has to go north and Inga has to go to Erebor, and I have to save River has to save her dad, and all of this stuff. And now, like, it feels like there's been so much movement on all of those fronts, and the kind of accumulating allies moment has kind of come in this big push, and it's just kind of really lovely to see the human landscape, or the people landscape change as much as it has as a consequences of our movements. And I think that's kind of wonderful. I keep thinking about that map that the Horrible Man had with all of the places like crossed off on it and stuff, like the places that was basically like tracing our actions, and it's just really good.
That's the advantage.
This whole thing makes me happy.
That's the advantage of the larger campaign too, is that you get to sort of see those effects kind of play out, like a long series. I also want to mention, by the way, just very quickly, I can't tell details about this because I promised I wouldn't spoil it, but one of my players/authors have been talking about the possibility of going through writing and even novelizing adventures in one of the things that I'm playing with them, and they were like, would you be okay with this? I'm like, what? Yes, like I mean, under what? Yeah, why would I not? That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So I just wanted to mention, if at some point, obviously you got way too much on your plate, but if any of this ever inspires you and you're like, I would be interested in writing a story about the river or about the party or about the whatever, I just wanted to mention it because she had brought it up and was so excited, this other author, about it. I was like, oh, so anyway.
I totally would.
Just then, before we move on, like, to that topic, if anybody writes anything about our campaign here, I will draw a picture for them.
Oh man, can you imagine? It would be really cool to do something like that, as like, especially for some like. Anyway, all right. Well, anyway.
I would totally. I mean, literally. I think I haven't told the chat and stuff, but I shared it with you guys. Is that after last session, I literally started writing a harp piece.
Yep.
In character as River for Ash. So. I'll once I do a little bit more of it, I'll find some way of sharing it with the chat more at large, maybe even playing it on the harp or something. But definitely, I feel like the game inspires me to real world stuff in a really fun way, specifically because I hadn't played the harp in ages and I'd just gotten it refurbished and stuff, so it felt like kind of giving myself permission to just play around, and it was really nice.
That's awesome.
So yeah. Super lovely. I would totally do that. I wanted to say next session is going to be the day before I embark on a lot of travel, like a full month of book promo travel stuff. I'm going to fly out to the West Coast for the Locus Award weekend, which you're going to be at, right? Greg?
I'm going to be out on the West Coast. I don't know if I'm going to be out I'm going to be in Seattle, but I don't know if I'm going to be at the Locus Awards, but I will be.
Okay.
I'll be out in Seattle for sure. So hopefully, because I don't know now I'm not sure about ReaderCon, I might not be able to do that. So actually, if you want to get together in person, and or if you wanted to do the possibility of maybe doing a stream where, like we did for CanCon,
right?
If any time is available or not, whatever.
Maybe
we can talk about that, later off stream.
Sure. So point is, I'm going to be in Seattle for the Locus Awards, where I'm teaching a workshop with Connie Willis. Oh my god. But anyway,
that's quite a class, people. Connie Willis and Amel. That's quite a class.
So very, very excited to do that, and then I'm going to go from there to the Bay Area, where I'm going to have a book event actually on July 2nd at what's it called? Is the Ferry Building? Is that a place? In San Francisco. I think.
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll have more details on that shortly too. And then I'm going to head back up to Seattle for teaching for a week at Clarion West. And then I'm going to catch a red eye from there to ReaderCon, where I will absolutely be fresh as a daisy for the day of the launch of This Is How You Lose the Time War, the novella that I co-wrote with Max Gladstone. And then there'll be a bunch of Boston area events before an Ottawa launch on July 18th at the NAC, the National Arts Center. So lots of things. I'm going to write them in some easily visible things soon. But I did want to mention on the subject of Max Gladstone, he has a book out today, which is absolutely amazing. It's called Empress of Forever.
I saw Bo Bolander talking about that.
It is seriously so great. It's a fantastic space opera. It's his first foray into science fiction instead of the craft sequence. So he's got this series of books called the Craft Sequence, all of which are gorgeous. But this is a totally standalone, wonderful book that basically has, billionaire Vivian Lau, who is a genius, gets kind of spirited away into this far future space amazing situation where she is immediately in a ton of trouble and being sought out by this terrifying figure called the Jade Empress. So yeah, seek it out. It is so good. It's out everywhere today. Empress of Forever. Max is brilliant. And yeah, I hope you will take a look. And I think, last thing I want to say, Drip is the thing the subscription service that I've been on.
I heard about that.
It is going the way of the dodo. It is being shuttered in October. It's been kind of orphaned twice over by Kickstarter in the first place and by XOXO, who was going to take it over. So it's a bit of a shame, but as a consequence, I've moved over to Substack. So I'm transferring all of my Drip archives over to Substack, and you can find me there at amal.substack.com. There's a paid subscription tier, which is like $5 a month Canadian. so slightly cheaper for Americans, or $50 a year. But I do free stuff on there all the time as well. So yeah, that's about it for me.
Very cool. Excellent. And Mal's got a lot of great stuff going on, which is great. She deserves it. And I've also talked about before, I mean, just genuinely as someone who I think knows a little bit about this, really is a fine writer. So if you get a chance to read Mal's stuff or learn from her, it's really great. And I will double what you said about Max. I've actually had a chance to do a signing with Max and be on panels with Max, and Max is very smart. He's one of those smart guys also who is very smart, and everyone around him feels smart as a consequence, as opposed to I'm smart and all of you are not type of thing. So he's very good at that stuff. So yes, go forth and read his book. You can get 2 books today. You get the Kickstarter and you get his book. That's what you should do. Moving right up the line. Thank you, Mal, as always. Great pleasure, and we'll talk off stream about stuff. Right on up the line, of course, is Terry Tunes. Terry, good stuff today. I actually was really enjoying a lot of sort of the conversations about how do we tactically handle this and that, and also addressing that. It was nice to see Terry as a to see Inga as a combat specialist, and not getting a chance to work out that portion of things as well, since there have been times when it's basically been Inga just sort of like swinging away at people and like seriously doing damage. So that was cool. How'd you feel about today, and where will the people find you next now that you're recovering from the plague of death? The
plague of death. Today was a lot of fun. I mean, always a lot of fun. But, like today I got like this Banner Saga vibe.
Yes, I thought of that
like
too. Yep.
That the entire time.
Totally thought of that too.
So I think I held up well enough, even though I'm sick. I hope.
You're sick? I didn't. What? Really?
Oh yeah, I have like an angina is what we call that. I don't know if I'm like. I know it's the same word in English, but I don't know how you guys pronounce it.
Oh, angina.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds weird. So yeah, where will people see me next? Here, it's usually. I don't know. One of the upcoming Tuesdays, I'm usually here. So I don't know when the next stream with me is. So that's it. Other than that, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and other things. So like lately I've been basically putting a lot of like craft things on my Instagram, so it mean a lot to me if you would like to check that stuff out, such as stone engraving and that kind of stuff. So yeah. I'm just slightly babbling along. So.
No. Listen, that's great. And of course, you folks had a chance to see Terry do all the illustrations for the game books as well. So Terry's great. And and I wanted to say, I can't. Okay, never mind. I just realized that what I was about to say about people I talked to at Origins, I can't actually talk about publicly, except to just say that Terry, you and I should talk about stuff later.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but thank you. Always a pleasure, Terry. Really good job today as usual. I agree, Ballstag. The Kickstarter folks saw some of the Twitter traffic. Good job, everyone. Let's keep it going. I actually just talked to a couple of other people that sent me stuff about how they're going to be pledging / posting more about this throughout the course of the day. So let's push forward. We can get this done. Okay, moving on up the line. Always a pleasure to have Terry with us. Will, it was great to have you back on board. We really did get an episode where a lot of stuff was going with Rabar. I was absolutely adoring the public speaking that wasn't experienced, like the whole like that's why you should do this. Frick it.
I'm so sad I missed that, by the way.
Yeah, you gotta check the VOD later. It was pretty funny.
That was fun.
I mean, the thing is too, like it wasn't. The thing about it is that it wasn't sort of stupidly that way. Like it wasn't like join, I'm bad, duh. Like, it was just very, it was very Robar, and I think it really kind of fit the way that people sort of, kind of work together, and I really enjoyed that experience of sort of seeing it. I was reminded a little bit of the scene from Hoosiers, one of my favorite, I think my favorite sports movie ever, and where they're sitting in the church and they're deciding whether they should fire the coach or not. And he's giving his whole speech about, and he's this guy who like doesn't suffer fools gladly. He's a good coach, but he's like, he doesn't really. So at one point he's just like, I was hired to teach the boys the game of basketball. And he stops. He's like, I apologize for nothing. And it's just everyone's silent. And the person next to him's like, Like, they just kind of like, that was not how to handle this and whatever. Anyway, but I really enjoyed that. How'd you feel about today's session, Robar, as your royalty is finally beginning to be revealed to a larger group? And where will the fine people see you next?
Feeling good about it. Little weird because it is sort of him finishing in a way, sort of finishing his story. Maybe is just a worry that what the hell happens once we get rid of these guys? Does Robar, live in the Vales and sort of rule there as a king? Will he choose to be an adventurer still and forsake that title? But I think he probably feels like someone needs to rule there, and maybe it's Black Tom, but he doesn't really trust that guy, so maybe it has to be him. Who knows?
Well, he also has a sister, right? So
he's also got a sister, so maybe she would do it. I don't know how that would work. So I guess it's a conversation.
More female rulers in Middle Earth.
Well, yeah, and whether or not she wants it or not, because she's been through some bad times as well. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. Whether or not we'll see his sort of end of his story, or if it'll just be the sort of end of a chapter, and maybe he'll continue. But yeah. I'm excited about it. Either way, I love getting to do character arcs and finish up their stories and stuff like that. So this has been Robar's story from the start. So it's really cool. On the rest of the internet, I do this, but all of the time elsewhere as well. So you can go follow us at Encounter Roleplay. I'm also the Twitch director at Cobalt Press, and we're launching the Twitch channel for Cobalt Press this month. Holy moly! So stay tuned for that. A lot of great shows that I'm sort of directing the programming of over there.
Awesome.
And I'm trying to, in more personal news, trying to finish off the just goddamn immigration stuff, which we're getting close to. And yeah, so closer and closer. I feel like each time we hear there's an update of we've unlocked another checkpoint, but it's like immigration is like fucking Portals 2. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, and here's another level now that you figured out this strange puzzle. So yeah, but yeah, that's me. I had a great fun time today, and next week I'm excited for a big battle and to take on Bigland.
Yep, I'm looking forward to lots of tactics coming up, I think, in terms of where you place everybody.
And I changed my name in Roll20 now to Robar Staunton, King Lavale, Road of Eagles.
I think you need to do that also.
So that felt good.
Yeah,
You are not king yet.
All you gotta do is just say you're okay.
The once and future king. I think you should do that every time you roll too. Just like Robar Staunton, future king of the Vale, rider of Eagles, rolls a 20 on perception. Anyway, but it was awesome to have you back, Will. As always, I look forward to next session as well. It's going to be really cool. And last but certainly not least, of course, Tren. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how things get, despite your making fun of my awesome Coniford name. I am looking to seeing how everything goes with the Bjorning side of things, and how you're going to attend to the fight or not the fight, depending on how you do things. But it was a great pleasure as always. How'd you feel about today, and where will the fine folks see you next?
I thought today went really well. The point, kind of fairly early on, when River was going to say, I don't to her father, I don't want you going, and I mentioned that Tawny was like he didn't look all that comfortable with it. One of the options that I was thinking of going with was to tell her, if he wants to go, you should let him go. Let him come with me. I will tend him all the way up to my place, and by the time we get there, he should be hale and hearty, and then he'll be able to fight just fine. Don't make him sit this out.
Man, I totally misunderstood what you, because my understanding was that you were going to help her get him to stay by pronouncing medical opinion on no, actually you should stay here. I'm so sorry. I would have definitely been made the opportunity for the conflict, but as it is, I think River is definitely going to perform better knowing that he's not there.
It worked out fine, especially when the Weaver stepped in and maybe the little patch, which I may have mentioned something to Arv and back channels for that.
really cool. Yeah, I was like,
I mean,
What?
nothing, tra la la.
Okay.
and you know who to blame if this comes up. I'm
That's
just saying.
exactly wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I
Because it was
expect
my
that.
idea doesn't mean it got implemented. Sorry, what was the one?
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't mention this, but like one of the things River would be doing in downtime, I imagine, would be actually sewing it onto her cloak. So yeah, she's definitely gonna want to like wear it into battle, or like, yeah, start wearing it as soon as possible. But yeah.
But I thought everything went really well. It was good to see my eagle buddy again.
Yay.
And I wanted to make sure that I told the other Beornings, yes, he can have one of my sheep. Don't shoot him. Told him it was fine.
Poor sheep.
Poor.
Yeah. Well.
I was, yeah, that's true, because I was a little surprised. I was like, okay. I mean, I can't, and I struck me as like, you're one with nature, and the eagles need nature too. You can imagine the one sheep is like, you see the eagle coming, and the sheep's like, oh, look at that. It's like, oh, it's all right. Tani would never let a eagle come to, and it gets closer. It's like, you sure? Because it looks kind of focused on us. I know, I'm sure it's fine. It's just like,
Which sheep is that?
he betrayed us.
I think he called that sheep Kevin, I think.
You're like, it's when you wandered away too far from the map. Anyway. But
this
yeah.
is the sheep that's drawn as a box. That's to be carried away by an eagle.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, are you done, Trent? I didn't want to cut you off. Are you?
As for when people will see
when
me,
people see you, yes.
I will be on Saturday back here for more not Adventures in Middle Earth. That's this one. Infinity Beyond. I knew it started with a vowel.
Infinity and Beyond with the tree.
Infinity and Beyond, where I will be playing more of Tawny. No. Weller. I knew it started with a consonant.
I mean, these characters are very different, in fairness, so it gives you at least a little bit of an opportunity.
So Tawny's very tall and Weller's very wee. That's why their names start with a T and a W, respectively.
And Weller speaks like this, and Tawny speaks like this.
Okay, and there's that, yeah. And Weller has friends, and Tawny, well, anyway. Right. So Weller can't cook. We're the dam. But anyway, so Saturday we'll be back for D&D 5th edition as more Curse of Strahd for Saturday, June 22nd, Trendane's birthday. Haha. Oh, it will be awesome.
Yay. Happy birthday ahead of time, Trent.
And I've been
That's
told,
bad luck. You can't do that.
Oh, yes.
I keep telling people that everybody's like, we're not killing your character off as a birthday present. I'm like, I don't want him to die.
It's true. Always a pleasure to have you on board, Trent. And while we've been talking about this, first of all, I love that next drunk for little R of Tawny waving to an eagle carrying a box, yelling, "Bye, Kevin." Oh my God. We have reached, folks, $2,029.51 backers. So we made a big push today.
Inspiration.
We got an inspiration.
I was going to say,
doesn't last until next month. Thanks.
but you know, we'll put another
We'll
milestone
get for next week.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll put a milestone in for next week. That's right. So anyway, but thank you everybody. Please continue to push. I really do appreciate that. For my players, wonderful job as always. It's a great honor to GM for this crew. I really enjoy it, and I am looking forward to next session. And now I'm going to let you folks go. So thank you to, as always, Trendane, to Will, to Terry, and to Amal. Congratulations again, Amal, on the defense. And I will see all of you lovely people next week / elsewhere at various places. Chat, some love for our players, please. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that is going to do it for that, but it is not going to do it for D&D for today, because we do have other stuff coming up. We have got other adventures that are happening. We've got other stuff happening over on GOG at 4 p.m. Eastern, just about 15 minutes, where we'll be playing D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. So that is going to be happening here very shortly. So we're not going to do a raid. We will just be heading over there when that moment has arrived. But until we get there, he said as he transitioned over. But until we get there, I do want to make sure that everyone knows, first of all, that you're awesome. I really enjoyed the session today. And I also want to sort of let everyone know, thank you. I very much appreciate you putting up with my continual reminders about everything relating to the Kickstarter, and that's just kind of the way it goes during these things. You got to continue to push. I also got some good news about this while I was broadcasting about possibly some other things. I can't talk about what, but that is some official pushing of things, which will be nice. I can't talk more about that, but that's going to be happening. So that's great. But please jump on board because it does make a difference. Ways to support the stream. First of all, this campaign will be coming back to you next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we will have the second session this month of this campaign. We will also have, of course, D&D with Infinity and Beyond coming up. Esper Genesis is finished, but we also have D&D with viewers. So if you have inspirations available, and thank you for those of you who use them today, you can still use those inspirations next month, next week, and the next week and the rest of the month, and that should be helpful as we lead up to the end of June. I want to thank everyone for being here and remind you about ways to support the stream. Please follow the channel. Please check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord. Please check out the website, arvanelleron.com. My Twitter is !ArvTweets. On the monetary side, please support us at our shop, !ArvShop, where you can get merchandise, remember, that is merchandise that features, done by Terry, featuring each of the characters on the front and then the full AME crew on the back. It looks really awesome. So you should, if you want to have something cool like that, I got to get one of those shirts for myself. You need to do that sooner rather than later because it's awesome. Oh my God, and the thing just updated again. We're up to 2139. We're getting there, people. Momentum is starting to happen. Let us keep it going, please. I am very pleased to see this starting to move forward. This is great. So anyway, !ArvShop for that. The Patreon, remember, is !ArvTreon sitting over right there. And our subs, by the way, now are up to about 67 thanks to that gift sub Kerflop gave. So we are now only 4 subs away from our record of 71, from our record that we set before, 71, and 5 subs away from 72, which would be a new record for us in the subcategory. So it's all coming up, Millhouse. Let us continue to push forward on all these things. I want to thank everyone for being awesome today and remind you all that, again, I'm going to be back GOG at 4 p.m. Tonight, I'm going to be here with your vocalists at 9 p.m. And guess what we're playing, people? We are returning to the world of Phoenix Wright as we play Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. And if you've never had the chance to see one of those games with a voiceover, get ready to laugh the whole freaking time. It is going to be our vocalist. We will have Little Red Dot, we will have Rob, we will have Zach, and we will have Russ for the first 90 minutes. Then Russ is going to have to leave, but we'll have the other ones there. So it's going to be great. So you don't want to miss that. That's happening tonight. And remember, then we've got D&D with viewers on Friday. I think we have Emberwind Thursday, D&D with viewers on Friday, D&D with Infinity and Beyond on Saturday. And then next Monday is the launch of Hearts of Wulin, which ended up at about $35,000 on my channel. That is happening on Monday. I am super excited about it. So yeah, stuff happening. So that is happening Monday night at 8 p.m. Hearts of Wulin, and it's going to be with Kat Rambo, with Saad, with Joyce Chung, and with Michael Underwood, with Lowell Francis, the designer of the game, as the GM. I am not playing in that or DMing it, but I'm hosting it on my channel, and I'm honored to do so. And oh my God, people, the video is freaking awesome. I can't wait. The video and overlay done by our very own Kilobyte. That's it for me, though. I got to get going so I can head over and hurriedly get ready for D&D with GOG. Much love to everyone. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Aradinel, Nonstop. Aradinel, I beg your pardon. Aradinel, good job today, by the way, holding the fort, man. You did a good job today with all of the retweets and everything, so thank you, Aradinel. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers, Aradinel, Nonstop, Ballsteg, of course. Ballsteg, as you can see, some good news happening over there. Arenth, Jagtress, Marinda, Second OBS, and of course Trendane. Great job today as a player, Trendane. Thank you to all of my wonderful subs. Thank you to Kerflop for giving the sub to Marinda as well. Thank you to my wonderful viewers, to Amal. Again, congratulations and thank you, Amal. Thank you to Angel of Flight, to Seabaird. Thank you to Commander Root, Psycho Motion, Cyphus, ECAG, Emerald Eye, and Counter Roleplay. Great job today, Will. Really a pleasure as always. Thank you to Gigafrost, and Terry was here too. She's not listed up there, but she was there and she's awesome. So yeah, thank you to Gigafrost, to Gorgar, to Costas 12. Thank you to Led. What am I seeing? Leo the Gamer Girl. There we go. That's better. Thank you to Loxane, Lone Wolf, Lurks, Mubat, I guess. Thank you to Mr. Mano. Thank you to Nocturne, of course. Thank you for the raid, too, Nocturne, formerly known as Wenchkin. Thank you to No Name Namer, Prey Met, and Questionable Results. Thank you to Stay Hydrated Bot for always keeping me hydrated. Thank you to T-Bank, to Thorazin, U Christensen, V&K, Virgo Praz, and Whistler. That's going to do it for me. Much love to all of you, best viewers on Twitch, and I'll see you in about 10 minutes over on D&D with GOG, Pen and Pixels, Storm King's Thunder. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good day.